Callisto Protocol gameplay previews are rolling in and they sound very, very positive. Some issues with difficulty as well as the differences between this game and Dead Space. I'm going to give you all of the information right here at the beginning, and then we're going to discuss it in the live stream. So these videos are longer, but I give you all the info right at the start of the stream in the form of an update so you don't have to go searching for it. This is a Reforge update. Callisto Protocol hands-on previews are rolling in, and obvious comparisons to Dead Space abound, but lots of good things are being stated. If you like these quick updates, be sure to hit subscribe and the bell button. That way you don't miss my uploads. So I'm going to use IGN as well as VentureBeat and Games Radar. I'm sorry, Engadget, not VentureBeat. So we're going to start with IGN. The first thing they talked about was the sound design. The first things I immediately noticed were the creepy ambient noises, random squelching, clattering, and faint echoes all around me made me constantly on edge. If nothing else, Callisto Protocol gets the creepy, constantly anxious environment down to a science. So, very high praise for the environmentals. I heard similar things in the game's radar video as well as the Engadget, as well as the Engadget hands-on preview. Now, it is similar to Dead Space, but not. That was a trend that was slowly emerging in all of these previews that we've heard and read. Controlling protagonist Jacob Lee felt a lot like controlling Isaac from Dead Space. You're constantly looking over his shoulders for what lurks ahead. Jacob feels very heavy in movement. He's less like a video game character and more like an actual person you're trying to push in the right direction. So this is in line with other things I read in the hands-on previews. It is more of a slower paced game. It has more of a methodical feel to it, and they also, from IGN, said that they liked what the DualSense added to that environmental experience. There's also some new mechanics in the game. Callisto's got a new dodging and blocking mechanic that Dead Space did not. You move your controller stick opposite the direction of a swing from an enemy, and that becomes a dodge, and then you can opt to block by pressing backwards on the stick like a fighting game, but you take some damage from that. You can chain dodges by switching the direction of your stick timed perfectly to the enemy swings, but it's a bit difficult to time it right after the first dodge, and most times I ended up getting clawed after the second swing. Now, admittedly, in the IGN previews, I believe her name is Stella, she said that she was having some difficulty with some of those things, and I watched the game's radar video, and I did think that there will be times you'll get overwhelmed and the dodging's not going to be as effective when there's multiple enemies, and she indicated that as well. However, limited ammo leads to a blend of melee and guns, and some of that was an issue with her gameplay. She said there was one room where you had to utilize every bit of combat mechanics you had in order to survive, since there was no way you could just shoot your way through each enemy or toss them away. I got stuck here for several respawns until I finally got the perfect combination of throws, pistol shots, and baton slaps in to kill all of the enemies in the room. So there is going to be a bit of a puzzle-solving nature to some of the rooms, it seems, because you're going to have limited resources, and getting through them is going to be a challenge. It's not Dead Space is a continued theme from all of the previews that I read. The combat in Callisto seems to really focus on accuracy and precision, thus going into Callisto expecting it to be like Dead Space, especially with so many mechanical similarities, was a mistake I made and you'd be wise to avoid. So she was slightly turned off by how hard normal was, but some of that did seem related to the fact that she used all of her ammo really early on, and then she said, I couldn't get any more ammo as things progressed. So you're gonna want to be a little bit choosy with when you use your guns. Engadget saw things a little bit differently. They said all of these details result in a rich sense of strategy with explodables, ammo drops, and escape routes secreted around each combat area. Callisto is a video game for video game people, offering little actual direction while relying on the environments to communicate escape and attack opportunities. A suspiciously red canister in the middle of a long walkway, a ladder rung dangling just within reach, a box barely big enough to duck behind. each detail blends smoothly into the futuristic surroundings. However, they did not like some of the scripted stuff. There's like a scripted slide down water where you're sort of dodging these pillars, and they said, overall though, the preview was a haze of sci-fi gore, action, and surprise, and I'm excited to play the full game when it comes out on December the 2nd. That leaves Games Radar. The Games Radar video I thought was very well done, and they were very impressed. They went in with lower expectations. Their thumbnail says it was better than they expected. They loved the environment. They said the melee felt really good and crunchy. They said the sounds and the environments were excellent. The thing I picked up on in the Games Radar video was it just looks so much better than the Dead Space remake footage we've seen up to now. I don't want to bash on the Dead Space remake, but there's going to be obvious comparisons to the two. They're both setting their sights on the next gen thresholds. I mean, they're both setting their sights on the next gen platforms, and so if you're going to be making those comparisons, you're going to be looking at the graphics, the gruesome nature of the kills, the sludge and the blood. These are things that are well worth looking at, and that was what I picked up on in the Games Radar video, was it just looked really, really good. Now, the Games Radar guy that went into the game, he said he went in thinking it was going to be like a 7. They weren't all that, didn't think they were going to like it all that much. And they came away sort of bumping their presumed score about where the game was going to land, and they liked it a lot more. So their entire opinion sort of changed about the game. So it's pretty clear from these previews that this is similar to Dead Space, but it's not Dead Space. You're going to go into this game and have a very bad experience if you think you're going to be getting this litany of weapons and guns and ammo and can just sort of blast your way through. The thing that I picked up on in the Games Radar footage was that some of the kills took a while if you didn't handle them properly. It did seem like the more efficient you approached a certain fight, and that was indicated by a few of the previews that I read, that combat really is something that you have to be good at. You have to strategize and be methodical, use the environments, choose when to use your guns and when not. There also seemed to be this sort of moment you could unlock in the combat to use the weapon more efficiently, like a crosshair would suddenly sort of appear, and that added again that element and that layer of intelligence. So if you're accustomed to the Dead Space combat where you just sort of shoot their legs off, now they're on the ground, now shoot them in the head or stun them or blast them back, this game seemed like it was going to be a little bit more survival oriented, where you can't just take the gun heavy approach. You're going to need to take a more balanced approach. And then the melee combat did seem like something that you're going to have to get good at timing those dodges, or you're going to get tangled up, especially when there's more than one enemy in the play. So what do you think about what you've seen from Callisto Protocol so far? Let me know in the comments below. How do you think this stacks up against the Dead Space remake, given that there will be tons of comparisons, and this game does get to come out first in December, with Dead Space landing early next year. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Check out Reforge Gaming, where I stream live. Hit subscribe and the bell button on this video, and I'll see you in the next one. And I'll see the rest of you right now. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This game is shaping up to look really, really good. I've been sort of watching this one develop as they've continued to let gameplay come out, and these previews sound very, very promising. People saying that, it was better than they expected, and, the fact that you had people saying it was really hard, it was difficult. I'm a little bit more excited for it now. To be honest, I normally hate people reading text to me, but this kind of flyover with some quotes of stuff I wasn't going to read. Really well done. Thanks for the summary. Really informative. Yeah, we like to do, a quick look at, hey, here's what everybody's saying. Here's what these review outlets are saying. Here's what the previews focused on. There did seem to be consistent themes between all of them, basically saying, this is not Dead Space. Like, if you're coming to this game expecting Dead Space, you're going to be disappointed. Callisto Protocol gameplay is inspired by, very much borrows from Dead Space, but it is not going to make you think you're playing a Dead Space game. The thing that I think really stood out to me was you can't go guns a-blazing. Like, you're going to have limited ammo. She said in her review, her preview on IGN, she said that she used so much of her ammo early on, she was just kind of shooting everything, and then all of a sudden it was like ammo became scarce, and the game turned. It was like, oh golly, I don't have anything. I'm what am I going to do? So she started having to use her environments. Now, that might not have been the case had she conserved some of her ammo and not been so weapons-free early on. Can't tune in today, but I came to give some like and some cheer. Thank you, Skylar. Make sure you guys are going through your morning ritual. You don't want to be on top chat because you can't see what everybody's saying. Make sure you smash the like button. Wearing another shirt today from Into the AM, one of our new sponsors. We are still working with 80s Tees, but Into the AM is another great t-shirt site. This might be a little bit more your style, the more graphic style, the more, streetwear, and large print shirts are available at intotheam.com/Lono, or just use code Lono whenever you go over there. You can use the shirt command. It'll give you all the pertinent info as well. Then again, it would have been a really smart or better if EA would have made the 4th sequel finale for Dead Space, because the 3rd Dead Space game was a cliffhanger at the end. Yeah, and there was one article about this, and he said he couldn't help but feel like they were trying to sort of rub Callisto and Dead Space face. It was like, hey, this is what we wanted to make. This is the game that we think that we should have made, and we're gonna show you just how good this genre can be. We're gonna take it further than you were going to let us. And I personally think that that's cool, given everything we know about how they kind of shot down things they wanted to do with Dead Space, and this guy kind of went off on his own, started his own studio. What's good, Feed? I see you in the chat. Good to see you, my friend. Let's shoot for 200 likes, guys. Let's have a strong start to the day. We've got 2 shows for you today, 2 big things to cover, and we are starting the day with Callisto Protocol gameplay hands-on previews that are rolling out. There's good info out there. There's good videos out there. There's one that we might watch in this video. It's like 8 things you need to know or something like that. We might take a look at that in a little while. I'm curious what you guys think about this. Do you feel they're trying to kind of beat Dead Space to market? Dead Space remakes, set for first quarter of next year. There's going to be tons of comparisons of these 2 games, no doubt. And so far, I think Callisto Protocol gameplay looks significantly better. It actually looks next gen. Now, many people are going to say, well, that's not a fair comparison because one's remaking a really, really old game and another is, a brand new next gen title. I think my issue with that is that the Dead Space remake is $70 and it's next gen only. So I'm looking at that game sort of expecting it to look like that. It should look like a $70 next gen only game. Always like a little grudge-based motivation. Yeah, like I thought the quote was really on point. It was like, yeah, I can't help but kind of feel like that's what this game is meant to be. He said, he admitted, the guy that wrote the article was like, there's no interviews, there's no quotes, there's no statements from Schofield or anybody about this. Why is chat glitched out? Are we having problems? Like, am I talking to myself here? Let me refresh. What's going on? What is happening? Oh, there it goes. My chat was glitched out. I was like, what is happening? No one's saying anything. Remake should be like a new game by definition. GameSpot review has us leading to believe it doesn't seem as spooky. Couldn't quite tell from the gameplay they showed, but it seems to focus more on melee. I feel like that would make it more tense. Both Games Radar and IGN indicated that melee was more of a focus, right? Melee's more of a focus. The idea that you cannot just rely on your guns. And the guy from Games Radar seemed to indicate he thought it was a better way to approach the game. He said it felt crunchy. He said it felt more like scary. You're kind of edge of your seat. And IGN said the environments, the surroundings, and the sounds really led to an intense experience. It was very, she said it was very sort of stressful to advance through the game. So I don't know why you're saying GameSpot led you to believe it's not as spooky. I don't know. From what I heard from all the other outlets, it seemed like it was a pretty jump scary game. You're kind of making sure you're checking every corner, and it's dark and foreboding. I liked how real everything looked. You had these doors that he's interacting with and these battery things and the lighting and the railings. It feels like a real place. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, it's futuristic. Yes, it's sort of sci-fi imagined place, but I didn't get the impression at all that it was sort of, overdone, overbaked, too futuristic. It was like, this is a real place right now. I mean, I could go here, in the future or, in the near future. Jay Beans with a 4-month milestone. Morning. Hope everyone's having a great day. Thank you, Jay Beans. Iron Warrior with 4 months. Lono, you got me to buy back into Call of Duty after dropping it 12 years ago. Thanks for another month of entertainment on my long work nights. Well, thank you guys so much for renewing your memberships. Memberships have dropped significantly. A bunch of you got gifted members last month. If you can jump in on your own, we really are asking people to do that. We cannot expect the gifted gods to do that every single month. If you enjoy my content on a regular basis, do me a favor and consider jumping back in with your membership on your own. We will be playing Call of Duty on Friday night as a big community game night because Call of Duty has launched tomorrow. Make sure you're smashing the like button as well. We should easily have 200 likes right now. Without a doubt, we've got plenty of people here for that. Yeah, more hard sci-fi, right. They talked about that in the game's radar video. Like, it's definitely more of a hard sci-fi feel. Like, this is what it would be like if you were in an environment like this trying to survive. Unfair perhaps, but comparisons or expectations in this case are only natural. From the videos I've seen, Callisto Protocol looks almost exactly like a Dead Space game. I feel you'd have to touch it to see the difference. That's kind of what IGN said. She was like, I went in expecting it to be like Dead Space. She's like, don't make that mistake. It is not like Dead Space. It looks and feels a little bit like Dead Space. She's like, no, that's not the case. She even talked about how, like, moving the character, you feel like you're moving a real person, not like a video game character. So, like, the agility, the lack of agility, that was one thing that concerned me in multiple previews that I read. I don't know about you guys, but for me personally, when I play a game like this, I do not like when part of the challenge, part of the fear, and part of the difficulty is that I move like a geriatric. You know what I'm saying? I don't like that. I don't like this sense of, man, oh man, I can't move fast enough. I can't get I'm like, it almost feels like you're limping everywhere. And there is a quote that I read that added to this concern. This is one of the quotes from Engadget, right? And I'm curious what you guys think about this quote in light of everything we've been discussing up to now, okay? So Engadget said the following. Lately, we've had a lot of pushback about games running at only 30 frames per second instead of shooters that run at 60 FPS. I don't know why Engadget's drawing a distinction between 30 frames per second games and shooters, since plenty of really amazing games have launched lately and you can get 60 FPS. Horizon Forbidden West would be a great example, so would Ratchet and Clank. These are not shooters, right? They went on to say this. Schofield said they deliberately chose to pace the game more deliberately, running it at 30 FPS. Now, I don't know. We know there's a Callisto Protocol performance mode. We know there's a Callisto Protocol 60 FPS mode. You can run that. They tweeted that out. But this quote makes me feel a little concerned. Like, wait a minute. Did you guys go for like that weird cinematic, slow, sludge-like game where everything moves really in slow motion, like stop motion? I don't know. Like, he's basically saying, Schofield said they deliberately chose to pace the game more deliberately, running it at 30 FPS. So is the 30 FPS performance, is the 60 FPS performance mode gonna mess with it? Is it gonna make it feel wrong, different, or is it literally just gonna be a frames per second doubler? Is it not actually gonna be a truly, next gen 60 FPS experience, or is it gonna feel like, oh no, yeah, this is totally fine? Guys, we need 30 more likes. Go through that morning ritual. Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome into everybody tuning in for Callisto Protocol gameplay hands-on previews, discussing some of the quotations from the previews. Right now, I'm asking about one that says they chose to pace the game around 30 FPS. Thank you, Darth Nihilus, for jumping back in as a member. That is worrying, says Cliffo, because if it's made for 30, then the 60 FPS mode will feel odd. Right? Like, are the enemy animations, are the movement choices, is the damage, is the combat, is any of that stuff going to feel funky, right? No concern after the footage I've seen. Is there true 60 FPS footage out there, Eugene, that we can look at? The dodge and the melee counter was solid. I thought so too. When I watched Games Radar video, I thought the same thing. I thought, ooh, I really liked that dodge. That seemed really fluid. That seemed really responsive. It seemed like it would be pretty intense to be in some of the up-close combat scenarios, to have, you know, the enemies right on top of you. I think it's a non-issue. You'll get used to it after a bit of playtime, says Zuth. I don't know. I'll go visual versus frames for this one. So you would choose 30 FPS in this one for the more cinematic feel. I wonder how many people are going to do that. I know for a fact that there are people that like the 30 FPS for the more cinematic feel, because they tend to, you know, in games like Plague Tale Requiem, I had people saying that to me. They're like, well, yeah, it looks better at this because of how, you know, because of how they have it set up, you know. A lot of people have said that certain games just run and look better at 30. I don't necessarily agree with that at all. Eurogamer has a 4K 60. Yeah, Paul just put it in the Discord. Well, we'll check it in a minute. Did they do that because the game is cross-gen? Yeah, you know what? Barrier might be right. One of the reasons that this quote exists is because they might have been aiming at the cross-gen performance, right? Schofield said they deliberately chose to pace the game more deliberately twice in the same sentence. Schofield said they deliberately chose to pace the game more deliberately, running it at 30 FPS. So the 60 FPS mode is going to be some kind of an uptick, is what it sounds like to me. Let me pull up the Eurogamer vid, and let's take a peek at this thing. This thing is apparently 60 FPS, and we'll see if it affects anything in the game. Because according to Schofield, they pace this thing at 30. So I'm curious what that means. Cinematic, but you're playing a game. Well, that some games want to be cinematic, right? Now, one thing I noticed in this sequence, right? Oh, golly, get that off the screen. One thing I noticed in this segment when comparing it to the Dead Space remake footage is the liquid, the three-dimensional feel for the liquid. Now, this is where it's more of a hybrid of combat styles, right? So you'll notice he's just wailing on this guy, and then that appears, and he shoots it, and then he gets a weakness shot, and the guy goes down. Pretty sure the footage is PS5 too. Now you'll notice again, if you just look at it's hard to get freeze frames because they have motion blur on in the footage. Right? If we stop it... No, I want to get the sludge. I want to get the sludge from that machine. If we stop it with that machine kind of moving, you can definitely tell these are three-dimensionally rendered, high-detailed liquid animations. You compare that to some of the stuff we saw in Dead Space Remake, and it's not even a fair comparison. They have these little animated things coming out for whoever's talking. I am not obviously letting their audio come through. Can you get more graphics at 30 FPS? Usually when you run something at 30 FPS, you get much better lighting and a higher resolution. They'll up the resolution, and then they'll do ray tracing. Like this section here is another section where you're going to notice a lot of details, and I think the lighting really, really shines in that little crawl through section that they did. Lighting is another key factor in these games. You've got to make the player feel like, you know, at any point something could kind of come out. Thank you, Phantom Phoenix, for hitting a 3-month milestone. Welcome back in, 3 months already. Here, I think you get a nice blend. I noticed this during the game's radar footage. Here, you're going to get a nice blend of the pipe details up here, and then down here, this thing is just caked in crap. And then watch the animations for the liquid as he crawls through. Oh, they chopped it. That was that you got to see more of that crawl through in the game's radar footage. Maybe they'll go back. They might go back to it. Good environmental use of lighting and fog and different things. Almost 400 people here. Could we get 200 likes, please? Good night. The cringy asking for likes thing. Please go through the ritual when you come in, my faithful homies. If people care about the cinematic feel, the devs should just add a 24 FPS mode. Right, Paul? Yeah, let's get some Lono dope emotes in the chat, some thumbs up to remind everybody to hit that thumbs up. For games like this, lighting is huge. Yeah, you've got to have good lighting, because you can tell. And that right there is another example of, I just want you to watch this animation of this guy popping up out of the ground, right? Watch the animation. You see? It just, there's something more fluid about this game. There were so many things in the animations in Dead Space. Like, look how many frames of animation there are to this. Yo, Jay Beans is going to gift a membership to somebody. Let's go. Let's see some gifteds there. Lou Cypher is going to grab the gifted from Jay Beans. Look how many frames there are to the animation of him coming up out of the ground. It's just, there's so many more frames to everything. It feels more ragdoll. It feels more visceral. Skill Up thinks visceral is one of the most overused terms in gaming. You kind of have to use visceral for games like this. There we go, guys. Thanks for 200 likes. Thanks for smashing the thumbs up emotes in chat. We greatly appreciate it. See, there's the dodge. Did you see the dodge? I also like the dodge. It feels organic. That doesn't feel like a video game. That feels like a cutscene. Watch this dodge. Woof. Wham. Like, I absolutely love that. That feels so fluid and on the fly. That doesn't feel like a pre-scripted thing. Do you know what I'm saying? The reaction to contact is pretty amazing. Yeah, the way that he interacts with the environments, the way that he interacts with the enemies, he must have hated Visceral Game Studio then. Yeah, anytime you had to talk about Visceral, that's right. Now, here's where you're going to start to notice guns are not an easy solution. Watch how much he has to shoot this guy. Did you see that? Just watch. Watch. A shoulder shot, probably a headshot. No, nothing. Here comes another one in the stomach, another one in the chest, and then he's getting a nasal cleansing. Yeah, this is definitely PS5 footage because he's hitting triangle there. And here is where you get into a 2v1, bit of a 2v1. Oh, and see, they're cutting it. They chop the footage up quite a bit. The game's radar just kind of let that footage roll. Here again, you're seeing the combination of the melee and the guns. You're not just using one solution. It's not one size fits all. Excuse me. It's not a one size fits all thing, which I appreciate. I noticed the blood splatter here. Little faux pas, just a teeny little faux pas is the blood splatter from the combat looks so good, doesn't it? It's like all over the desk. And then he turns on the monitor, and the monitor has it's perfectly clean. It's like a windshield wiper went across it. I mean, that's a minor gripe, but still, I thought it was funny. I was like, man, that screen is awfully clean. Is it going to run with 60 FPS? Yes, we have been told by the official Twitter account for Callisto Protocol there will be a 60 FPS mode. If I'm being nitpicky, the enemies are a bit floaty, like they have no or less gravity holding them to the floor. They almost seem to glide into attacks. I'm going to keep my eyes open for that, because that was something that we pointed out with Gotham Knights, with the main character kind of sliding and gliding to the others. I absolutely love the way they've got his look at the way they. It's so hard to get a freeze frame because they've got this stupid motion blur thing going on. I love the way his tools and his weapons are just sort of naturally placed on his back and in his belt. I love that. That is really, really great. That's just another nice, minimal, there's no HUD, right? It's just minimal info to let you know what you've got with you. I really, really appreciate that. I'm definitely biased because this game is going to be it's in my favorite genre, but I feel like I'm watching an evolution of the genre. Ooh, that was scary. And then the dodge. The only thing I don't think I like... Yeah, see, I don't like that zoom-in thing that they do. All right, so watch carefully what's going to happen here. He's going to get hit, but then he's going to pull off a dodge and then a swing. And it does this weird zoom-in thing. It did it, too, with his gun, and I just assumed it was ADS. Watch what happens. Dodge. Why is it zooming in? Like, the character leaves the frame. If your character leaves the frame that much, I'm gone. It zoomed in so much. It's almost like they're trying to add this cinematic quick time event experience to the combat. That right there too, the transition to gun, I'm not super fond. Look at that, boom. It's like it skips because he's over here next to me, right? And then when he pulls out his gun, oh, you got to get him over there. So it's like an immediate look. I'm not too fond of that. I'm really not too fond of that. He's there, and then he's there. I don't think that that's a good. There's got to be a way to do that a little bit smoother. I know they want to get your gun out quickly so you can get your shot off, but I noticed that when he was in the tan sludge too. So there's two things in this interchange I'm not too fond of. Number one, dodge is great. The zoom in on the swing, I'm not a fan of. And then this weird clunky, like when he pulls his gun out, all of a sudden he goes bink and he's over there. May have been the position. He's near a corner. Yeah, it's like it did the same thing in the sludge. I'll show you. It's like all of a sudden the gun comes out and you're like zoomed in really, really quickly. It's very... It's immersion breaking because you have these great interrupt moments where all of a sudden you're getting punched and attacked. Throws him back. Now he's getting spit on. So he's like, I'm going to grab you. Sticks him to the wall. Nice play. I wonder if you can utilize that plant thing behind this guy instead of just shooting him patiently. You can see again, guns not the quickest option for some enemies. My man's quicker than Bruce Lee. Yeah, he's got quick dodge game. He wanted some revenge on that guy for scaring him. He's got some legs off. I'm sorry. No, an arm off. That's a footage cut? No, when he was in the tan stuff, that's not the actual animation. That was not a footage cut. What are you talking about? Are you talking about what we just watched? This exchange here is not a footage cut. It literally it's the same fight. Or are you talking about when he's in the sludge? Hit, dodge, slam, slam, and then he does a couple more slams, and then he earns the ability to pull his gun out. Boom. Like that's when he pulls the gun out, that's a cut? No, it's not. It's the same enemy. He's got him in the same location. He throws him there in the corner. Boom. And there's the spinny things behind him. I thought that was a cut. Why would they do that? It doesn't make any sense. Are there any visual clues in the footage? Let's watch the blood. Let's watch the blood to see if you're right, because I don't think you're correct. Oh no, you're right. Why would they do that? That's so bad. Yeah, look at the blood. All of the blood changes location. Everything moves and shifts. What the frick? That's such a weird choice. I was like, why would you do... I said, I was like, why would you make the game do that? Why would you make him pull his gun out like that? It's so awkward. Whoever put this footage together, that's just such a strange decision. Isn't this the same footage that Games Radar used? Is it the game or the footage? That's what I'm saying. Isn't this the exact same footage? This is B-roll because the guys from the one article said they were not allowed to record their own gameplay. They said that they had to use B-roll. Could we get 30 more likes on the video? You guys are awesome. We're having a great turnout today. People on Lono's COD video saying that it's the same old COD. Lamau, sorry, wrong chat. Yeah, who cares about those people? Anybody saying it's the same old COD didn't frickin' play it. They're just jealous. AAA Clock 2 is coming. That game looks pretty cool. That was a bad choice. Probably wasn't a planned cut. Yeah, it seems like such a strange choice for a cut. Like, I don't get that at all. Yo, good morning, Kill You. Everyone has the same B-roll. I mean, I'll show you the reason I didn't think it was a cut, Eugene, is because it looks similarly clunky to when he's in the mud and the sludge. I gotta find that Games Radar. I gotta find the Games Radar vid. Hang on, I think I know where it is. I think it's in the reaction room. I've got a reaction room in the Discord. Hang on. Yeah. All right, hang on. Let me pull up the one from Games Radar. Here we go. Because something similar happens in this video, and it happens in the sludge. It happens in this sludge room, and it's awkward. There's like this weird whoops. There's like this weird moment where he pulls his gun out, and it doesn't feel fluid. It feels kind of choppy. Yo, Miss Sean Williams with a $10 tip through Super Chat. I've been watching your channel for a while now. What's your thoughts on Japan canceling Callisto Protocol due to how violent it is? Honestly, I think it's so hypocritical. Yep, there it is again. See? That's why it didn't seem like a cut in that footage. Yeah, Miss Sean, I mean, I don't want to get into discussions about countries banning video games. That just gets into weird territory. I don't really care what other countries do about video games. You know what I'm saying? In Eurogamer cut, I'm guessing Eurogamer cut something. This is not a cut. So as soon as that appears, boom. That's not a cut. I don't think that's a cut. That's how the game's going to work. It's just quickly, suddenly over his shoulder. Right? I don't think the enemy... Yeah, the enemy's position doesn't change. Look. The enemy's position is in the exact same position. His arm is flying up. Same exact position. Gun comes out. You see what I'm saying? That is not a cut. That's not a cut in the footage. The character's in the same position. The enemy's in the same position. And he pulls his gun out. Look, the enemy is like falling back. There's no way this is a cut. See? See how he's falling back? That's not a cut. It's just an awkward way to pull the weapon out. Bink, bink. He earns it, boom, and then he shoots him. That's why in that other footage, I didn't think it was a cut. I was like, yeah, that's just like he did it before. It's just like suddenly the gun comes out. Got to be quick on the draw. I'm sure in the game you're going to be very happy that you can pull your gun out quickly. I just don't think it really flows with the cinematic style of the game. It's like this slow, intense fight, and then all of a sudden you're like, get your gun out, right? You know what I mean? Look. It doesn't feel that way in this section. I wonder if it's when you earn that. I wonder if it's when you earn that crosshair. See, yeah, that didn't feel awkward at all. That felt smooth. I wonder if when you earn that little blue mark that you pull the gun out. Yep, there it was again. There it was again. So when you earn the blue crosshair, boom, it's like super auto zoomed in. It's almost like a flick. Then it just feels really awkward when you're not playing. Do you see what I'm saying? This is a great showcase. So right here, his first ADS, totally normal. That's totally normal. That's just a normal bringing the gun up. And then he's going to get him on the ground, and he's going to earn that blue marker again, bink, and then the gun does this weird quick snap thing. I don't know if it'll bother you when you're playing, but when you're watching the trailer and not holding the controller, it just feels a little awkward. It's like, oh gosh, that's a little jarring. Yeah, it's not a cut. It's how the mechanic works. It looks to me like it's an actual combat mechanic in the game. Once you earn that like critical spot on their body, you whip your gun out and you're immediately pointing at it. It might be something you spend a skill point on. It might just be how the mechanic works. Because that's a normal ADS right there. He just pulls the gun out. It's very fluid. There's multiple frames of the animation. It's not a single frame animation. But when he's earning that crit spot, it's like a single frame. It's like, boom, all of a sudden the gun's out and on the enemy. And it just feels a little, compared to the rest of these sequences, it doesn't feel the same. It feels different. Which again, when you're playing, that's probably not that big of a deal. And there he's using one guy against the other to stun. Taking their legs out. That guy's still moving. You think it's an auto option for lock on to weakness? Could be an option. It could be something that you earn, you know? If you guys are just tuning in for the day, we're checking out Callisto Protocol gameplay. Looking at the Callisto Protocol hands-on previews. If you'd like to comment in the chat, make sure you're subscribed so you can. Be sure to smash the like button. Go through those daily rituals that you typically do whenever you find my streams on your homepage. If I'm ever not on your homepage, be sure to check your subscription feed. I'll always be there. That's a good dodge. That's a good dodge. Whoop. Yeah, see, that was something that Stella talked about at IGN. She said those second swings kept catching her. She dodged the first and struggled to dodge the second. It's a dodging mechanic with the joystick, too, so I wonder if it's going to be difficult. Yep, there it is again. There it is again. So he earns this crit spot, boom, and then the gun just comes out kind of in a snappy way. So that's why later on when it happened, I didn't think it was a cut. I thought, oh no, that's the game. That's how the game works. You know what I mean? I got debated. I thought you actually got your hands on it. Well, I mean, I tried to put on the title and in the thumbnail that I've tried to put previews plural to indicate we're looking at previews. Like I don't have my own. Oh, and the guys that got their hands on the game, they can't show you their footage anyway. Everybody's using the same B-roll, so it's not like we would have anything. Even if I got to play it, I wouldn't be able to show you anything. The combat's not Dead Space. No, it certainly is not. One of the central themes that I read in virtually everything that I looked at was that this is not Dead Space. If you approach it like Dead Space, you're going to have a hard time. You're going to be very, very frustrated. And so that was a common theme in every single one of the previews that I checked out. It was like, look, this ain't Dead Space. If you treat this like Dead Space, you're gonna have a bad time. You know, like in the new YouTube mobile UI design. Yeah, they've rounded everything. I don't know if I've gotten it yet. Some people have the new YouTube UI and some people don't. They've rounded a lot of the buttons to make them. Here, I have an update on my iPhone. I'll see if my app gets the update. Yo, Quintar Silver is going to gift 10 members to the community. Guys, make sure you have allow gifts turned on. TSMI, Seattle Chef, Jallo K, Brian Coe, Stephen, Richard Davidson. Yeah, this is the section I wanted to look at that they cut in the last thing. Hang on, I want to back this up. Busta Hip Hop, Chipper, BMSS85, and One Up Ninja and Jones Jr. Guys, make sure that you guys say thank you to Quintar for gifting those members. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss my content. If you are subscribed to my channel and I'm ever not on your homepage, always remember to check your subscriptions tab. I will always be there when I'm streaming. So I wanted to watch this because I want you to pay close attention to something, all right? We looked at the Dead Space remake trailer, and there were so many things in it that seemed like low res or not that great. Also, guys, if you just got a gifted membership and you can do it, pay it forward and gift another member or gift 5 members. Let's get these members back up over 2,000. We had so many generous people, and instead of having like a handful of really generous people, if everybody kind of pays it forward when they can, we'll get a lot of new members in here. And we'll keep that little member train going. So the thing I want you to pay attention to as he's crawling forward is there's multiple things going on in this section that I found to be pretty impressive. Number one, the water detail, and there's actual sort of like chunks and things floating in the water, okay? So the water has substance to it. It's not just like a cool looking like water texture. It actually has substance and movement. I also want you to pay close attention to how the light interacts with the bottom pipe. The bottom pipe has all this texture and sludge and crap on it, and I want you to just pay attention to how the light interacts with that, okay? So just watch the water, see how the water moves, see how the water has actual texture and chunks to it, and as he's sloshing through it kind of splashes up, and how those chunks fall in a more dynamic way. If you compare this to the liquid and the water and the sludge that you can see in the Dead Space remake, I don't see how people can give me such a hard time for my criticism of the Dead Space remake. The Dead Space remake does not look like a next-gen $70 remake. It doesn't. When you compare it to this especially. I think the Dead Space remake looks fantastic, but it doesn't look next-gen. It doesn't look $70 next-gen. Melee in Dead Space 3 cost ammo. I'm still convinced that's not a cut now. After watching the other pieces of footage, I don't think that's a cut. I really don't think that's a cut. I think that's literally him pulling his gun out. Yeah, I like... Wait, does his health change? No, I think that is a cut. That's a cut. The other ones are not a cut. But that looks so similar to how the shooting works in the other sections. When you earn that crit spot, it's so weird. It's so awkward. It's super awkward. The remake is not the same dev, so that sucks too. Yeah. This even basically has stasis. Okay. Those devs are making Callisto. Yeah, the Dead Space devs are making Callisto. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? It's not a cut. It's a camera snap to aim to you. Seems like they don't have or should switch the change to aim. Just snaps to the right shoulder. It only does it when he unlocks that one move. Yeah, here's a great fight. I love this little fight he gets in here. He creates all this steam that you can't see. That thing's just crawling around. He gets a good dodge. See, there he goes again. He gets that crit spot. I don't even know how you fight this thing. Like a nutsack with legs. Gross. If you guys are enjoying the coverage, we would love to hear from you. Hit subscribe. That enables you to talk in my chat, and smash the like button. That also helps me, and it doesn't cost a thing. This guy needs to keep his mouth shut. Nah. You can, though. These people are so mad about my Dead Space stuff. In your opinion, do you think the Callisto Protocol can top Dead Space? I actually think Callisto Protocol is gonna hurt the Dead Space remake. I do. I know, listen. I don't like to buy into this game versus this game. I think sometimes people do that and they create this weird competition that isn't there. This is one of those rare times where I actually think one game can hurt another. There was a time where the Overwatch beta really hurt that Gearbox game that I can't even fricking remember the name of it now, Battleborn. There was a time where that game clearly was hurt by Overwatch. The similarities and obvious excellence and style and fandom of a Blizzard game, it really hurt Battleborn. Now, Battleborn had its own flaws and its own problems. There were issues with the game that weren't very good, okay? There were issues with the game that weren't very good. However, I do think Overwatch hurt it, right? I think this game's going to hurt the Dead Space remake. I do. I don't think it's a competition, but I think this is going to hurt the Dead Space remake. I think people are going to play this. They're going to experience these graphics, the lighting, and how the character looks and how the environments look. I think they're going to get into the Dead Space remake and they're going to be like, this doesn't look as good. I'm dead serious. I'm not hating. I'm going to play both. I think long-standing fans of Dead Space are going to love both of these games. I do. I think they'll like both. Because if you truly compare the Dead Space remake to the original, it truly is remarkable how good it looks in comparison. But if you play this first, I'm here to tell you, I think you're gonna look at that Dead Space remake and be like, this just doesn't look as polished. It doesn't look as good. I had people on my shorts saying, they were like, look, the developers acknowledged that there is some clunkiness to the animations and some things that aren't quite polished yet in the Dead Space remake. So Dead Space remake comes out to the public, starts showing off gameplay, and I was not the only one to pick over the footage and feel like some of this doesn't look that great, right? So I'm not the only one, to the point that the devs replied to some community members and said, we're aware of some of these things. We're going to be trying to polish up some of the animations and some of the clunkiness. Remake will never be able to match a new game. I do think there are times, Alex, where a remake is going to have a harder time. I do. I think it's going to have a harder time automatically. Our second show today is going to be about remakes and a recent announcement. So that's our second show today. Nope. Zubair, did you like that nasal cleansing? One of my favorite things about this game is they're all about good nasal cleansings. He's like, hey, listen, man, I know you got a sinus headache today. Let me just get that out of there for you, you know? He just goes up in there, gives him a nice flush, gets all that out of there. Starting today through March, literally don't have time for Dead Space, says Eugene. 30 FPS is also going to hurt the Dead Space remake. Oh, do you think Dead Space remake's going to be capped at 30? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. If you guys are just tuning in, we're checking out the latest Callisto Protocol gameplay hands-on previews. There were a bunch of Callisto Protocol previews that came out. We kind of clambered our way through them and did some summary review. I did like a summary at the beginning of this video, and now we're checking out some of the B-roll that they used, analyzing the gameplay, the performance. This is 60 FPS, by the way. There will be a 60 FPS performance mode. I was a little concerned. That's the skill shot, and why it looks strange. It skips into a zoom, says Paul. Then says, Callisto looks like a more evolved Dead Space. I'm not blind that Dead Space Remake looks inferior to Callisto, but I'm equally excited for both games. Like I said, I think really, really big Dead Space fans are going to enjoy both of these games. I really, really do. I don't think it's going to feel to them like a competition. Now, to people that are maybe a little bit more on the sidelines, let's say somebody like myself. I had never touched a Dead Space game, and I jumped in with Dead Space 3. I feel like I'm going to play Callisto, and then I'm going to go to the Dead Space remake, and I'm going to have this sense of inferiority, like the Dead Space remake's just not going to feel and look as good. Why? I don't have this super strong nostalgic attachment. I want to watch the gun. I want to watch the gun put away animation right here. I've not watched this yet. I want to watch that again. I love how the stuff on his back seems sort of organic. Yeah, he doesn't pull his shirt up. It just kind of does it on its own. I always love that about the axe in God of War. The way he put it away felt so real. Like, clink, it just kind of hung back there. Sense of scope and size here is pretty dope, too, even though that's just basically a pretty flat skybox. Isaac says, just join the stream. This looks amazing. Not a big fan of survival horror, but this is fire. Thank you, Isaac. If you guys have never pushed the join button on a stream before, you can click that button or the $sign at the bottom of the chat and see if you'll get a discount on your first ever membership. YouTube has been giving those to people. We're continuing to think through what we want to offer on memberships. And every day we basically do a debrief that's just for members. It's a show where we just kind of hang out and debrief on the day. And it's kind of like a behind-the-scenes look. And we've been thinking through if we think that's a strong enough offer every day or if we should do other things. So if you're a member to other channels or you have ideas, let us know what you think. This game looks really good. I'm not interested in Dead Space Remake, only this game, says Philip. Dude looks too generic. They need to give him a helmet or something. No, it's meant to feel like you're kind of out there not armored up. You're supposed to feel a little naked. That's the point. I hate that Dead Space 3 was some people's first experience with the franchise. It was cash grab trash. My friend and I played it co-op and had such a good time with it, so we didn't have that outlook on the game. You know what I mean? He has armor later on. Oh, you get armor in the game later on. That'll feel really cool to watch your character kind of slowly change, because you definitely feel a little naked right here. Like you're just big old noggin hanging out, waiting for somebody to chomp on it. I'm convinced that I don't know. I'm not convinced that's a cut. I'm not convinced that's a cut. He has a spacesuit in the trailers. Oh, that's right. I've got it on my thumbnail today. He has like a helmet on. Yeah. My thumbnail has the helmet on it. Guys, if you're enjoying the show, man, thanks for another great, strong turnout. If you've never been here before, this is Reforge Gaming. We cover variety gaming news. I am safe for work. This game's obviously not very safe for work. It's pretty gruesome. But if you're enjoying the show, hit subscribe so you can talk in chat. That way, you can let us know what you think of this game, what you think of the Dead Space remake. We are kind of drawing comparisons between the two. I read a quote earlier that concerned me. That's why we're watching the footage. The footage is 60 FPS, according to people who have analyzed it. This was from VentureBeat. Lately, we've had a lot of pushback about games running at only 30 frames per second instead of shooters that run at 60. Schofield said they deliberately chose to pace the game more deliberately, running it at 30 FPS. Now, some people have said that's probably because this is a cross-gen supported game. It will run on Xbox One and PS4, so maybe they started at 30 FPS, but lots of games start down there and allow you to increase performance. So I actually think you're probably going to be able, to run that performance mode and not have any sense of like, oh gosh, my character feels like, he's moving through sludge. Belanjude with a renewed membership. Thank you so much for jumping back in. When people say cash grab, they are talking on behalf of others because it's a mentality where you project on how others spend. Obviously, they aren't buying. Well, there were microtransactions in Dead Space 3, were they not? And it made people pretty angry, didn't it? I mean, it's a remake compared to a new game. What more do people expect? The Callisto Protocol looks and plays vastly more better than Dead Space because Dead Space is an old game. Mashawn, I wouldn't necessarily be worried about the gameplay feeling a little dated or clunky in Dead Space. I would expect that, and I wouldn't judge it harshly for that. I'm more talking about the graphics, the animations, the textures. There were things in the Dead Space remake trailer that just looked bad. It didn't look polished. Who's even funding this game? It looks extremely AAA. Yeah, who's the publisher on this? I actually haven't checked that. Callisto Protocol publisher. Looks like it's Krafton as well as Bluehole. It looks like they have two publishers maybe themselves. It looks like it's a self-published combined with Bluehole Incorporated. Bluehole was created in November of 2018 as the parent company. Oh no, Krafton was created in 2018 to serve as the parent company for Bluehole. Is Krafton... Who's the developer? I thought Krafton was the developer. Oh, no, the developer has like a weird name, right? Striking Distance Studios is the developer. Krafton is the publisher. Thank you. Sorry, I was like, wait a minute. I remember the developer has like a weird name. Yeah, Striking Distance Studios is the company making the game, and then Krafton's publishing it. Krafton being the parent company. Bluehole is not. Bluehole's PUBG publisher, I think, right? Yes, I believe. Yeah, this game has PUBG money. Yeah. They got some good money behind them if they got Bluehole involved. They're bringing in some Dead Space 2 or 3 mechanics into the remake to make it more up to date, says Baba Yaga. I mean, anytime people have commented on my short and they've decided to be an intelligent human being and not some ravenous, mauling Neanderthal, they've said things like that. They're like, look, man, there's tons of new mechanics in the Dead Space remake. And I'm like, that's great. That's totally great. My issue, my concern and worry, again, and this is one of the reasons why I think Callisto Protocol will hurt the Dead Space remake at some level, is that the Dead Space remake doesn't look next gen. It looks good, but it doesn't look next gen, and I think that's what's going to hurt it fundamentally. This game, I mean, let's even try and get a freeze frame on that blood. I want to get a freeze frame on the blood. There's some good blood. There's some good blood in here. There's a splatter that comes out that you can really see the detail and the three-dimensional sort of rendering that they've done to... What are they doing with the frames? Like, why? I advance the frame and it doesn't advance. This is a weird video. The way they've uploaded this, I don't get it. There was a moment in there where I thought I saw very thick globule, like, blood, and I'm trying to get a freeze frame. They're doing some kind of motion blur thing, so it's hard to get those freeze frames. Freeze framing these videos has been frustrating. Oh, it's at the end. It's at the end when he's back up. Yeah. You can really see in here the difference. Okay. We just hit 1 hour on the broadcast, guys. They always recommend that I run ads at this point, and I don't want to do that, so continue to support with super chats and members. That's how live streams live on YouTube. I know that's weird to say, but live streams are not traditional YouTube videos. 4-month milestone from Xanatos. While I don't often make it to members-only content, Lono provides such great content that I choose to become a member to help support Reforge. Thank you. Did you get my super chat? A $5 tip from Smashville. The propane tank throw has me giggling every time. Yeah. I think it looks more crisp than Callisto. I think the freeze frames are better on Dead Space because it's not, there's like no motion blur. Now, again, I want you to look at this, okay? The blood and even these chunks over here, there's a three-dimensional feel. It's not flat, right? It's not flat. And I think that was one of the things that I noticed. Also, look at the frames of animation. See how it moves this section here and how these chunks move independent? They have their own trajectory. See this is now thinning out. It's traveled and it's now thinned out. It's moving and it's traveling more and thinning out. Right? I don't know. It feels like that right there is another great shot. This is a great shot. Look at that. That's a three-dimensionally rendered thing. That's not some flat blood falling out of the face of the enemy like we saw in the Dead Space remake trailer. Like, that looks really, really good. This right here in Callisto Protocol, this blood is exactly one of the things I took issue with in the Dead Space remake trailer. This looks three-dimensional, fully rendered. It doesn't look like a flat two-dimensional sprite just sort of randomly falling out of the enemy's face. That looks great. That's a freeze frame too. People kept telling me, oh, you're freeze framing a bad shot. What do you mean? You can freeze frame video games and find really, really good, crisp looks at the game as we have right here. This is a great freeze frame of Callisto Protocol, showing the difference in the level of detail and the rendering and why this looks way more next-gen than the Dead Space remake. This is like night and day comparing Callisto to Dead Space. And the funny thing is, it's hard to get these freeze frames in the Callisto Protocol trailers because of all the motion blur going on. Yeah, this looks like an amazing next-gen Dead Space 4, right? I sense that clip will be a short. Shh. Don't expose me. Don't expose me, bruh. No one will be playing the game like this, though. Blood spurts happen so fast. But, Jeremy, you're not understanding something. You're not understanding something. That adds to the immersion. It adds to the visceral feel when you see actual blood splurting out of the sky and flying everywhere. I literally saw it while I was watching it in full motion, and I froze it to show it to you. Right? Of course nobody's constantly freezing the game and going, look at the blood. But when the blood looks that good in the moment-to-moment action, that adds to the immersion. It's all over your character. It's all over the ground. It's gross. Did he miss the member message? No, I read Xanatos' member message. You don't notice them, but you will feel them. Yes, exactly, big punk. You will not necessarily like notice them each time, but you're gonna feel it. It adds to that realism of like, man, I'm knocking the stuffing out of this guy. You know? You miss Smashes? I read Smashes. He said something in the Discord and I went back and read it. I hope we can turn off some of this motion blur or whatever it is. They just canceled the release of it in Japan due to content rating issues. Yeah. We don't really report on stuff like that. It just gets, I don't know. That just gets weird. Doing too much at once. You're good, Kratos. You're good. I like when people draw attention to the fact that, like, I missed a super chat or something, because I never want to miss a super chat, but I definitely went back and took care of it. I did miss it. Could we get 40 more likes on the video, man? A great turnout today. Let's set our sights on 400 likes. Thanks so much for being here today. Checking out the latest Callisto Protocol gameplay. There was some Callisto Protocol hands-on previews that came out. Bro, get yourself the game. Get over yourself. The game's great. Let's see here. Review scores in the 50 to 60 percent range everywhere. LOL. Sure. All these people keep hating. Man, those Gotham videos won't quit, bro. Those people are so mad. It's like, if the game is so great, why are you coming to YouTube? Right? Why are you coming to YouTube if the game's so great? You're coming to YouTube to like justify how good it is. Why aren't you out? Why aren't you enjoying the game? Why are you on my short, losing your freaking mind? It's like they're angry because they know the game's not good. They go and look for reviews. They find my shorts roasting the game, and they're like, the game's actually good, dude. Why are you here then? I don't understand. You came to YouTube to look for clips of the game getting reviewed and ranted about. Why does that concern you if the game's so good? That's really weird. Like when I'm enjoying a game, like when I enjoyed Modern Warfare 2, I didn't go look for reviews or shorts of people ripping into it. I don't care what they think. I did a reaction to a really bad review from IGN, but I don't go looking for videos and shorts of people that are like, this game sucks. I'm like, I don't give a crap what they say. Why do you care what I say if the game's so good? You have a new game, 4 characters to grind, but you're off defending the game instead of playing it. Yeah. You're probably on YouTube in between crashes. Oh, that's harsh. But it's probably true. It's probably true. All right, I got a discussion question for you guys. We're about an hour into the show. We already discussed the 30 FPS, 60 FPS thing. One thing that came up in many of the Callisto Protocol previews was the phrase, if it isn't broke, don't fix it. Which, the Shakespearean way to say it would be, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I believe that quote is attributed to William Shakespeare. So, William Shakespeare is famous for saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So, in light of that, wonderfully phrased Shakespearean axiom, do you think that can hurt a game? Because there are elements of this that feel like, well, I've kind of played a game like this before. I've played a game with spooky corridors and flashing lights and smoke and creepy monsters climbing on the walls and trying to smack me. Is there something about a game like this that makes you kind of feel like, yeah, I don't know. Can that hurt a game? Because something we've been dealing with lately is there is a theme in the gaming market right now. Lots of remakes, lots of revisits, as well as a game like this, which is clearly the sort of spiritual capstone to all of the Dead Space games. Whatever you think about it, you can't call it a remaster when it's a ground-up remake with very different scenes in a lot of places. Yeah, I'm not going to be uncharitable and call it a remaster, but I definitely don't. It doesn't look next gen. The Dead Space remake looks like something that could run on my PS4 at 30 FPS. Yo, what's good, Keenan? It's been a while since we've had a game like this, says Jonathan. Okay. Eugene says not if it's an evolution. Right. So if they've evolved the genre, if they've evolved the game type enough, Eugene, you're like, no, that's fine. I'm good with it. I'm good with that. They can kind of take the approach of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Thomas Burnham Lance started the phrase. Oh, are you serious? You actually know the person who started the phrase? That's funny. I was just being stupid. If the core of the game works, keep it and build upon it, says James. See Resident Evil or Dark Souls. The core gameplay is the same, but it's always evolving. I actually think I agree with you guys. I think it's a fun discussion because it's a common critique that comes up, right? Think about all of the comments we've been seeing, about Modern Warfare 2. It's just another Call of Duty. Just another Call of Duty. And it's like, I don't understand. They've clearly evolved the franchise and the mechanics and the feel of the game, but because you've played a shooter before, this game's bad, this game's boring. Now, I do want to showcase some mechanics here. So there is a block and there is a dodge. Dodging is side to side, blocking is back. He blocks first, okay? So the block, you take damage. So he's pulling back on the joystick here, and he's blocking. He's pulling up his baton and blocking. That's not the same as a dodge. A dodge, that's a dodge. So this is a really, really good showcase of how the melee combat has different things you can do to minimize or mitigate damage. So this is minimizing damage. He blocks it, and this is mitigating damage. He takes none, and he gets to the side. Seemingly gets a bigger... I feel like he gets a bigger stun on the enemy as well from the dodge. So he hits there, and that kind of gets thrown back. That dodge leads to, a bigger stun. Yeah. The enemy actually interacts with his swing. Watch this. The enemy blocks the swing and then shoves it back. See how it stumbled our guy? That's one of the reasons why I think Stella at IGN says it feels like you're moving a real person. So this swing, see the enemy brings his hand up and shoves back, and it kind of separates you, almost like a boxing match where you kind of shove, and he gets a big wind-up attack as his follow-up, and he dodges it. And then that swing is rewarded with a stun. It really feels like the melee is a bit of a boxing match. There's an art form to the melee in this game. I'm hyped for Callisto Protocol. The more I watch this footage, the more excited I get. Like, I think they've done just such an excellent job. I really, really do. Every Resident Evil was an evolution, says Eugene. Dead Space ended broken, though. Well, to be fair, Resident Evil 3 to 4 did change a lot. A game being next-gen or not next-gen does not make it good, though. Can be next-gen and still be garbage. Well, Master Jazz, I would never say that if a game looks next-gen, it's automatically good. I would never do that. Oh, yeah, my brother said that the enemies kind of float towards you. I want to see that. Hang on. Yeah, I'm definitely seeing some of the sliding. Yeah, the enemies at times do feel a little floaty. Like this guy kind of slides forward. I want to watch the other guy. Yeah, he did it again there. He kind of slides forward with his swing. I don't think that... Wow, he really launches him there. Yeah, it does seem like they kind of slide towards you instead of stepping or running towards you. It's like they enter into their attack stance, and then their character just sort of slides to you. I do see that. Yeah. That I think that's a fair, I think it's a fair thing to point out. Yeah, but I would never say that like a game's automatically good just because it has next gen graphics. That's not true. What was that game, The Order 1886? It was like built to showcase the new console off, and it was just a garbage, super short trash game. It was not very good at all. You know, I don't think next gen is an automatic get out of jail free card for a bad game. Whose gameplay is this? It's nobody's gameplay. It's B-roll, Crowded House. So all of the outlets that got their Callisto Protocol gameplay previews, they're not allowed to show. They weren't allowed to record. They're not allowed to record. They had to use B-roll, but they can talk about what they experienced. The general consensus was inspired by Dead Space, but this ain't Dead Space, right? Maybe they're going for a slightly lower gravity feel. You are on the moon. Yeah, but our guy doesn't move that way. We move kind of heavy, kind of clunky. I think it's unavoidable, right? You have to give enemies the ability to close gaps, and you can't always animate it, right? Because they're going to initiate combat. They're going to initiate combat from different lengths. See, that felt better. Like, that felt like a run-up. Like, this guy runs up, ding, 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 boom, and he does a little hop at the end. So sometimes it is clear that they're closing the gap by running, or closing the gap by you know, kind of skipping, trotting along instead of sliding. Yeah, that was a good run-up too. So it's not every time. There are animations for the approach. Like, this guy's approach is animated. Watch. Boom. No, he kind of slides too. Yeah. He kind of slides too. It's sometimes they do it and sometimes they don't. See, that felt like a bit of a run up. It's almost like they run, and once they get within a certain range, they just kind of slide into position, you know. We'll call that traveling, right? Traveling on the approach. Order 1886 wasn't the best, but graphically the game looked good. Right, and how good the Order 1886 looked didn't justify the game not being very good, right? I don't think anybody would ever, I would never argue that. Is it 30 FPS? There is a 60 FPS performance mode according to their official Twitter, and this game, they said, though, they built from the ground up to be 30 FPS, and one of the reasons for that was they wanted it to feel more cinematic, but I also think it runs on old gen consoles, so it makes sense that they probably started there. I mean, look at the detail on old homie. You know what I mean? There's a lot of detail in this game. The Order 1886 story was 10 minutes. I was so upset. The Order 1886 was a good game. 6.5 out of 10. What, they had to delay the Order 1886. I knew it was going to be bad. You liked the Order 1886? I don't necessarily think anybody like disliked it. They were just like, no, it's not good. It wasn't a great game. You just lost your... Well, here's the thing though, Crowded House. Plenty of games that have 60 FPS right now started as 30 FPS games. I can list a bunch to you that look phenomenal. Let's start with Spider-Man, or Horizon Zero Dawn, or Ghost of Tsushima. Those are games that were built from the ground up, 30 FPS, on an old-gen console, and they pushed out an update, and they are breathtaking. They're beautiful. Here's another one, God of War 2018. Actually very similar to the style here of over-the-shoulder lumbering movement, right? God of War 2018 got a 60 FPS update with 4K checkerboard on PS5, and it looks fantastic. So a game being built initially for 30 FPS doesn't necessarily, I don't think, hurt the game if they decide, because again, this one comes with a performance mode. The PS4 is holding the PS5 back from true greatness. In what ways? What things are you, what's being held back? Looks great when it first came out, though. Played kind of like Gears of War. I actually didn't play the Order 1886. Like, I want specific examples of why people think the PS4 is holding the PS5 back. I would love to know. The base of the Order 1886 was solid. It just never reached the full potential of the scope the setting suggested. It was almost like a DLC for a game that you would have already bought at full price and played for 13 hours. You know what I'm saying? Everything I saw about that game, it was like, it kind of looked and felt like the DLC to a full game. You know? And they marketed it as a full game. Ooh. I can admit we say next-gen features, but we have no idea what that is. I do know Hellblade looks stunning, though. What do you mean we don't know what next-gen features are? I know what next-gen features are. They're easy to list because they've been told to us. 4K, ray tracing, increased frames per second, faster load times. Like, what... more... I would say this is more generic, but, you know, more photorealistic video games. Better performance. That's more generic, but more specifically, you can say 4K, ray tracing, higher frames per second, faster load times, 3D audio. You could even say, you know, haptic feedback on the PlayStation is a next-gen feature. We can list next-gen features. It's not difficult because the companies marketed the consoles and talked about all those things. Higher resolution, better frame rate, quicker load times. Taking 30 FPS in account for your move timings, attack windows, etc. is not a bad thing. Now, tying that stuff to 30 FPS wouldn't be good, but accounting for 30 FPS users isn't an issue. Right. When did he express dismay? Express dismay? I wonder what will be sacrificed for 60. You've already expressed some dismay for the graphics. Surely they were cranked up as well. I've not expressed any dismay for the graphics. What are you talking about? Guys, if you're just tuning in, we are checking out. We've got new B-roll from Callisto Protocol gameplay. There was a handful of Callisto Protocol hands-on previews that rolled out, and we've been discussing them and looking at this and kind of analyzing all the different things you can do, from dodging to blocking to very, very, I would consider it to be pretty in-depth melee combat combined with shooting. Please take my channel name. No, I'm good. I'll just ban you instead. Try to find streams where you're allowed to self-promote. I'll shorten your search. There aren't any. I'm on your side. I only have a PS4 and a 5. As a PlayStation gamer, it's a bit of a fanboy take. PS5 is achieving greatness, and fanboys have convinced people that it would be more if the PS4 wasn't supported. As I've said before, the presumption that a game is held back because it's cross-generationally supported, that presumption is betraying ignorance. It's just somebody who doesn't understand how game engines work. You don't understand how game engines work. Plenty of PC games come out, and you can turn things off and optimize and get the game to run on a really weak computer. That doesn't mean that that PC game is suddenly not next gen. It means that the engine is agile and it's adaptable. You don't know that, so your presumption's built on ignorance. Like, I'm telling you, most of the people with that position, that like cross generations holding back the games, they don't know anything about game engines, and they've probably never looked at PC game performance. They're not educated on the subject. If you've ever played a video game on a PC and looked at any of the breakdowns of how PC games perform or benchmark tests of PC games, you would know that it's just an uninformed claim to be like, yeah, the PS4 is really holding back the PS5. No. That would be like saying, yeah, the 1060 graphics card is really holding back the 3090. You would sound stupid by saying that. Anybody with even the most basic education in CPU performance and benchmark testings of computers would be like, what the frick are you talking about? Yeah, the GTX, the GeForce 1060, it's really holding back the 3090. How? well, these game devs are out here optimizing their PC games to run on 1060s. And it's like, okay, yeah, you got to turn off 8 settings, lower the resolution, and set everything to low. Oh, yep. You haven't explained how an old piece of technology is holding back a new piece of technology. You'd have to explain that to me. Make that make sense to me. Does the existence of older graphics cards that can run new games, does that hold back the 3090? No, it doesn't. You never said the graphics aren't up to par? Yeah, I never said that. You said you felt they weren't up to par for next gen? No, Crowded House, I think you misheard me. I was talking about why this trailer and why the gameplay of Callisto Protocol is making it very clear that the Dead Space remake doesn't look next gen. You must have heard like half of my statement and misunderstood it. I did say today, multiple times, that the Dead Space remake gameplay doesn't look next gen, and this trailer really showcases that because everything in this trailer looks next gen. I think you just heard half of what I was saying, and you assumed I was talking about what we're looking at today. That's fine. That's easy to do that. I mean, I talk fast, and you might have come in halfway through the sentence or came back in the room halfway through the sentence or something like that. But for clarity's sake, I don't think there's anything in this trailer that looks beneath next gen. It looks truly next gen. You're thinking of Dead Space. Sorry. No, it's fine. It's an easy thing to misunderstand because there's similar games, and I've obviously been sitting here drawing comparisons the entire time. Thank you guys for 400 likes on the video. Thank you for being here today. If you'd click subscribe, we'd love to meet you. Say hello in the chat. That is something that we like to do. We like to welcome in new people. We have an embargo, but already on to play early access game. What is this? Top-down action roguelike. Yeah, maybe. This is not an attack on you. It's more of an indictment of the portion of the PlayStation community that is telling you a $500 box doing 1440, 100 FPS, high settings, and ray tracing is held back. Right. Yeah, like, again, I keep coming back to the same thing. It's just an ignorant position. It does not have a full scope and a full understanding of how game engines work. No one buys a top-end PC, okay? Let's say you have one of the strongest PCs in the market, and you buy, let's say you buy Callisto Protocol, and you look at the minimum specs available of what kind of a PC can run this game. You're not going to look at those minimum specs and then say, anybody with a computer this week, you're holding back my PC. No, nobody would say that. That's a ludicrous thing to claim. To be like, man, I bought this top shelf, top dollar PC for gaming, and I went and looked at the minimum specs of all of these new games coming out, and all these weaker PCs out here are holding back my PC. No, they're not. What the frick are you talking about? Anybody playing on min specs is going to lower the resolution to like 1080. They're going to lower textures to low. They're going to turn off ray tracing. They're going to turn off all of the really, really shiny, nice stuff. They're going to play a completely different version of the game than you. Nobody with the most, even if you have the most minimal amount of education in computers and how they work and how strong a computer can be, you would never look at minimum specs and be like, yeah, man, all those weaker PCs are holding back my really strong PC. Because when someone makes a game, they can optimize it for weaker systems. They can turn certain things off. So you can play the game on your PS5 and play 4K 30 FPS ray tracing, and it'll look like a dream on your television. And then some guy's going to play it on his PS4, and he's not going to have any of those things. He's going to play an inferior version of the game. He's not going to play the next-gen version. Now, if you want to get into presumed things that they didn't do that they would have done if they left behind the PS4, like instantaneous loaded areas or something, that I will grant. But you can't grant that for the first wave of games, because the first wave of games were in development for so long that they wouldn't exist. Like, Forbidden West and Ragnarok wouldn't exist if they built them for PS5 only. They wouldn't exist. They would still be in development because they wouldn't have started development. Like, Ragnarok's development started in 2018, 2019 probably. The boy just woke up. Jeepers. That's a long time. How's he feeling? Yeah. My son, yesterday, my wife came downstairs. She's like, if you go through the living room, be quiet. You know, the boy's napping on the couch. And I was like, oh, he's going to wake up with a fever. She's like, what? I was like, there's no way that boy is sleeping midday. I was like, he's sick. Guaranteed. And he woke up with a fever. He woke up with a fever, and he felt crummy, and then he ate some food and took a bath, and he felt better, and then he slept in today. He just woke up. So I'm like, well, how's he feeling? Because usually that means you're better. You got your big extra sleep day. You know, he probably didn't sleep all that well last night. But I told Creature, I was like, he's gonna wake up with a fever, guaranteed. We were in a Target once, and we were in the toy aisle, and all of a sudden, you just saw it happen to him. You just saw it happen. The energy drained from his face, and he wanted picked up. And he was much younger at this point. And she was like, oh, man, he must be really tired. You know, must have been a long day. I said, nope. I said, we're going to get home, and he's going to have a fever. She's like, what? I was like, guaranteed. I can see it in his body. I can see it in his demeanor. Like, he's got something. Sure enough, we got home, he had a fever. He's got a good immune system, though. He's usually over stuff really quickly. People blaming Sony for cross-gen game like other companies have many only next-gen games are out already. Right. Hot water helps the sinus, always helps you feel a bit better. Yeah. Bath always does that, which it probably helped him fall asleep and get good rest. Like, the best thing for you when you don't feel well is to sleep. Most people game at mid-range on PC, which is why the recommended specs are usually mid-range. Yo, AOZ with a $20 tip through Super Chat. Question. I know the Callisto dev made the original Dead Space. Is there some rivalry, animosity, or loss of license that drove this dev to make a similar game at the same time and make the remake look bad to make a statement? There are people that think that this game is trying to make a statement. There was a version of Dead Space that they did not let him make, and this is essentially it. So yes, there is a sort of a level of, I'll show you. You didn't let me make the Dead Space I wanted to make? Okay. All right, fine. I'll start my own company. I'll go over here. I'll take some talent with me, and we're going to make the Dead Space that we've always wanted to make. And that's essentially what Callisto is. Callisto was on dev before the Dead Space remake. Yeah, I don't think they did this to hurt the Dead Space remake. I think they did this to prove this is a good concept, this is a good game, because this got shot down. They weren't able to make this, and they wanted to make it, and so now they're making it. So I don't think they were like, oh yeah, we're going to shut down the Dead Space remake, you know? By the way, anytime you guys consider doing a super chat, consider doing a gifted member batch instead. We've been noticing that. Now, if you can't gift members because you're on mobile, I know a lot of you guys are like, oh, I do this instead of gifting because I can't gift. Completely understandable. But if your finger's hovering over the super chat button, man, take that and throw it at some members. That's a huge, huge benefit to continue to have the members go up and to expose people to our members-only content. Even though he made a different studio before he went to Strike Distance Studios, Glenn has always wanted to make horror-based games, not Call of Duty. And it's EA that's doing the, well, look over here move by remaking Dead Space at the same time. Yeah, I mean, do you think it's possible that maybe we have it backwards? That they got wind of this game and decided, well, we'll remake the original Dead Space, and that'll, you know, that'll show him. Those games would be years away because Sony wouldn't have funded and sold them to an install base of 20 million. Yes, these presumed better PS5 games would be launching in like 2024 or 2025. You know what I'm saying? Honestly, what I have seen, this game looks more intense than Dead Space. This game looks, I think, more brutal. I think this is going to punish you a lot more. I think you're going to die a lot more in this than Dead Space. I wonder how Glenn feels about seeing his baby remade and released alongside his new Trot project. It has to be surreal. I'll be honest, the amount of love and passion they clearly put into this game, I would be disappointed in seeing my original game remade, and it doesn't look like I don't think the Dead Space remake looks next gen. I don't think it does. Dead Space creator is still kind of bummed to not be involved with the remake. Yeah, they didn't involve him, which is weird. Just bought the upgrade for my Shadow streaming PC. Went from 1080 with 12 gig memory equivalent to 3070 60 gig memory equivalent. Just did it today, so excited to see the big difference. You will. You think Glenn gets residuals on that? I don't know how that works. I don't know if you get residuals on games you worked on in the past. Obviously, devs don't. That'd be ridiculous. But, you know, I don't know if co-founders or original creators get anything. I would imagine no. Once you're not at the company, that's the end. You're no longer attached to the property. You know what I mean? No temp, 2 pieces of toast and 2 pancakes. My boy. No temp, and he's already had 2 pieces of toast and 2 pancakes. That's my boy. He's back. He bounces back like a rubber ball. You can't keep him down for long, man. He's a trooper. He is an absolute trooper, man. Had my Yeti lid on wrong. I drink with this hand so that I don't bump into the microphone. And so I had the... You bounce back like a rock. Yeah, some people when they get over being sick, they bounce back like a rock. My boy bounces back like a rubber ball. He's already up. He's already up and back. That's good. I was a little worried. I was honestly staying away from him. I was like, look, man. I was like, I can't get sick, brother. Call of Duty comes out in 2 days. Like, you got to stay back, my friend. If you get mama sick, if you get your sister sick, y'all can lay around and watch TV and do whatever you need to do. I said, I don't have that luxury. Y'all stay back. I'll put a cot in the corner of my studio. I will live down here. You can slide food under the door. Call of Duty's coming out. I can't be taking these risks. Yeah, cover that mouth and wash those hands. We were literally playing board games with him, and my daughter was like, wait. She's like, Papa, he's going to touch all the pieces. And I was like, oh, you're right, girl. She's like, I've got it. She's like, you do everything for him so he can still play. So we played Catan, and we played Catan, and then we played Splendor, and he just wasn't allowed to touch anything. He kind of liked it. He kind of liked getting to boss me around. He kind of enjoyed it. It was kind of cute. He absolutely smoked her in Catan, and then she ran over us in Splendor. We were on her heels, but man, she wiped the floor with us in Splendor. We played a second game, and then he won that one. They really like those games. Good stuff. Meanwhile, my kid has a cold for over a month. Yeah, it's rough. You know what's funny is his allergies last way longer. He'll get like a chest cough from allergies, and he'll literally cough for like a week. It's kind of annoying, and you feel bad for him. It's like, bro, can you stop coughing, my man? It's like, it's been like 4 days, bro. Get it out of there. You know, I always feel bad for him because he gets the brunt of it. With the making his studio in his own personal quarantine. Yeah, Lono will be making his studio his own personal quarantine. We'll see food slide through the door every now and then. That's right. That's right. If you throw a rock hard enough, it'll bounce. I remember mid-sickie, I got stuck at the boyfriend because his roommate got it. It was so awkward walking around the house with masks. Yeah. Like, well, we're stuck here. All right. We've been talking about it, and I want you guys to weigh in on this one. All right. If you haven't smashed like yet, feel free to smash the like button. We're running out of steam. We're running out of steam because I think people have either seen enough or we're not talking about the topic. So let's bring things back to the topic, right? So Callisto Protocol gameplay undeniably looks fantastic. That's what we're looking at right now. Is there's Callisto Protocol hands-on gameplay previews, and that's what we're checking out. And the thing that I've been saying is I think this is going to hurt the Dead Space remake, and I want to know what you guys think. Do you think there's any credence to that? Do you think it's going to affect your view of the Dead Space remake, your experience? Is this going to affect which game that you buy? Because we've seen so much of this gameplay already. We've seen a good amount of the Dead Space remake gameplay. Where do you land on that? Do you think that this game does have the potential to hurt the remake? What's up, Jeremy? How are you? You're going to go for Callisto for sure. This is gameplay on PS5 or Series X. This is PS5 footage. There's a couple moments. We just saw a moment where he was mashing triangle to get away from a guy. I think this game will hype up the Dead Space remake even more. You're going to buy both either way. So Mr. Polar Bear thinks that this game's actually going to hype up the Dead Space remake. P. Dudley says it's for sure going to hurt the remake. Pretty smart move to release the remake not too far from this game. Getting both, but more hype for this, says Quintar. Our reviews coming soon. So today we took a look at, I read a Callisto Protocol gameplay preview from IGN, from Engadget, from VentureBeat. I watched one from Games Radar, and they all had very similar things to say. Games Radar basically said they were going into the game thinking it's going to be like a 7 and not really going to blow them away all that much, and they came away saying it was way better than they expected. They were more excited after playing it. They were very, very pleased with their experience. And so I heard that and was really encouraged. Now, something else that emerged from all these previews is a lot of people said very similar things about how, look, this is not Dead Space, right? IGN literally said, look, if you approach this like it's Dead Space, you are not going to have a good time. She used way too much of her ammunition, and she said the further that she got, the less ammunition that she had, and then she was having to rely on melee, and then she was having a hard time. She did say like the dodging and the blocking was really, really good, but there were times where she just couldn't pull off the second dodge. Now, the way that you dodge, you don't press a button for dodge. You actually use the joystick to dodge. So left or right on the joystick will dodge in that direction. If you pull back on the dodge, you'll actually pull up your melee and block, right? You'll pull up your melee and you block. So she was saying there were times where she would go to dodge and then a second attack would come through and she had a hard time dodging that. Funny enough, in the B-roll, you see that happen. You actually see that happen in the B-roll, right? In the B-roll, there's a couple times where like they dodge that first one and then that second one comes in and they can't get out of the way of it. Eugene says, I think she had a skill issue, but hard to know. She seemed to admit that she created some of her own chaos. In the one section, she said she used ammo so liberally in the beginning that near the end, when there wasn't a whole lot of ammo on the ground, that she definitely felt like, oh, I would have treated this differently. She even said at one point, if she would have known going into it that it wasn't going to be a more gun-based game like Dead Space, that she would have played differently and had a better experience. So she almost was like, listen, she kind of owned the fact that her own expectations hurt her experience a little bit. She talked about that near the end of her her preview. I can pull it up and read it. She said, let's see if I can find it here. Ammo being scarce with the start of the level. Here it is. While at the start of the level I could blast through enemies with my pistol at will and restock, I found that the further I went, the less ammo I would find. It got to a point where I realized that I had 5 total bullets left going through multiple checkpoints. Callisto definitely encourages you to save on bullets and use your environment and different combinations to fight through the torn prison, but it doesn't really help you realize you should be prioritizing other options, especially when you're given so much free ammo at the beginning. So she kind of feels like they kind of subverted the expectation of like, here's a ton of ammo, and then they're like, yeah, we're not going to give you ammo anymore. Being forced into a specific playstyle when you originally thought you had more freedom of choice was a bit frustrating. There was one room where you had to utilize every bit of combat mechanics you had in order to survive, since there was no way you could just shoot through each enemy or toss them away. I got stuck here for several respawns until I finally got the perfect combination of throws, pistol shots, and baton slaps in to kill all the enemies in the room. Also, like in Dead Space, when you aim at specific arms or legs, you can stomp on them once they hit the ground to ensure they're actually dead. If I had known this going into the game, she says that the combat seems to reward perfect combinations like this. She says, if I had known that going into the game, I would have been more ready and less frustrated with the lack of ammo. I played Dead Space, and I know what limited ammo feels like, but in Callisto, the ammo somehow felt even more scarce. At a certain point, the aliens you fight will spew tentacles from their chest when damaged enough and will mutate further into a stronger form. So she does seem to be owning the fact that, like, her lack of information and her approach was one of the main causes of her frustrations and her problems. So I do think she's like, oh yeah, I approached this in a way that hurt my experience, and she's telling people don't approach it this way. I doubt her experience with survival horror, or she's an easy mode player. It just depends, right? Yeah, it just depends, because there are elements of Dead Space that are easier because you can really rely on the guns a lot more, especially once you get up and running. There's also the early game pain can sometimes feel more extreme when you're used to end game power. Does that make sense? When you finish a game like Dead Space, you've got so much stuff. So your most recent memory of Dead Space is, man, I'm blasting through all these guys. And then you come to this game and you're playing with end game mentality when you're in early game scarcity. Does that make sense? There's a lot of games like that. Like the early game scarcity pains feel exaggerated if you just came from the end game power. It's like, oh yeah, I have all this stuff, all these weapons, all these bullets. And then all of a sudden you're like, yeah, you don't have that, bro. You have a baton and 6 bullets. Make it work. And if you're not accustomed to that, you're going to waste your bullets and be like, I don't get it. This game, this game's too hard, or this game sucks, or whatever. So it could literally be that she just came into the game off of some fresh Dead Space and thought, man, oh man, I wasted all my bullets. Other games will be made like the Matrix demo eventually, is all you're saying. Callisto has Metroidvania backtracking elements. Now that I don't know if they've outlined anything like that. Like backtracking to areas because you now have more power, more guns, more abilities. I'm not sure if they've said anything about that. You can't play through one area in the beginning of the game and think that that's the overall pace of the entire game. That's on her. I would say yes and no. Baba Yaga. Because if I'm playing through a game and there's ammo all over the ground everywhere for my pistol, I think that sets an expectation. Okay, the pistol's an introductory weapon and they're keeping me stocked with ammo. I think it's fair to assume that the pistol will lose its proficiency as time goes on because the enemies will get harder. So that abundance of ammo will slowly decline in its efficacy. But to be like, no, instead of necessarily making the enemies harder, we're just going to make ammo more scarce. So we're going to make you feel this intrinsic punishment for going 2 weapons hot too often. So I don't necessarily think one person is right or one person is wrong, but I do think I've played games like that before, or they're just giving you ammo like it's nothing because your weapon is going to slowly lose efficacy because the enemies will get stronger, and then you have to invest in the weapon's strength. And then when you invest in the weapon's strength, it maybe consumes the ammo more quickly. Do you see? There's other ways to create late game pain or mid game pain. You don't have to do it just by like, hey, we used to have ammo on the ground all the time and now we don't, right? Like you don't necessarily, I don't think you don't necessarily have to like fault her for thinking, man, there was ammo everywhere, and then suddenly there just wasn't. Someone familiar with survival horror knows they pace the ammo like that. Here's a bunch, use it wisely. That's why I doubt her experience with the game, because none uses the ammo freely. Yeah, but I don't know, because like I might have done the same thing, and that might be because, again, coming from Dead Space, I didn't feel like in Dead Space, I just didn't feel that. Dead Space was very much the inspiration for this game. It's very much a spooky, scary horror game with survival elements, and I didn't feel like, oh man, I better choose my shots and punch. It was like, no, you got to be intentional with your shooting to be efficient with your bullets, but you didn't have to like be sparing. Dead Space 3 is action, but again, if that's your most recent experience and you've played that and you come to this game thinking that, what if you don't have that thought process? What if you don't look at Dead Space 3 and think it's an action game? You know? I wouldn't have thought that. I would have come from Dead Space 3 and been like, oh, hey, Callisto Protocol is made by the Dead Space guys. Looks an awful lot like Dead Space. Let's get in here. And I might have made the same exact mistake she made. Dead Space you played is very action, not survival horror. Right. And I actually think it's totally fine for a game to basically educate you about the game with its parts. Do you know what I'm saying? They didn't need to have a pop-up on the screen to be like, hey, ammo can sometimes be scarce. You better be careful. You better be choosy with your shooties. You know what I'm saying? I don't necessarily think that they needed to like tell her that. I think it's okay that the game educated her with pain. It's like, you know, it's like, hey, you like those bullets? Well, they're not always going to be around, you know? They're not always going to be around. You're going to have to be careful. No items match your search? I'm not searching for it. I'm trying to save it. Oh. Can't put a question mark at the end of the file. The file name. I was like, I did not know you could do that. If you put a question mark when you go to save an image, you put a question mark, it assumes you're searching for it. Instead of that's funny. I did not know you could do that in Windows Explorer. Like, go to save an image and make the file name and then put the question mark at the end of it. Okay. Okay. Gaming news. And we're setting up our I'm setting up my next stream. It'll be in about 40 minutes. I think you guys are going to like it. Oh, brother. What? Oh, can't use any of them. That's fine. We have so many tags. I had so many tags from the actual topic. I didn't have room for my personal ones. That's fine. We don't need. Yo, what's good, Abe? Abe, I think you said something in the chat earlier, and I can't remember what it was. I was like, oh, that's Abe. Let me say something to Abe, and then I got distracted by something. Redirect. There we go. Perfect. Yeah, COD releases at midnight. Yeah. I think tomorrow we're going to do 2 separate streams. We'll do one We'll do one that's purely Spec Ops, and then we'll do another that's multiplayer. And then tomorrow night when we do the community game night, we'll probably play some Invasion, and then we'll just end up in Spec Ops so we don't get salty. Nothing important, just seeing how everyone's been this week. Yeah. Cool, Abe. Good to see you. Yo. What's good, Mike on the mic? How are you? The thing that people don't understand is the only reason games like Dead Space, Silent Hill, and Resident Evil stop being scary after a while is because you get desensitized after a while. Right. What's too long didn't read? What's good, MJ Talks? The Callisto Protocol gameplay hands-on previews all have very similar things to say. It's inspired by Dead Space, but it is not Dead Space. You will get creamed if you treat it like that. You can't rely on your guns that much. You've got to treat it like a survival horror game. Guys, could we get 40 more likes on the vid? If you've just tuned in for the day, hit subscribe so you can talk in my chat. We would love to hear from you and what you think about this. We've been kind of discussing whether or not we feel like the Callisto Protocol release date is going to hurt the Dead Space remake. And my Dead Space remake short continues to get clicks and views because people are so angry at my criticism of that. Have you played Village? I have. We will not be able to jump into the Resident Evil Village DLC tomorrow because it's competing with like the third largest franchise in the world. We'll be playing Call of Duty tomorrow. Our First Look channel has moved to a new, smaller channel. That big channel that we were trying to put stuff on just isn't going to work. And so we should have some premieres. We should have some premieres for you guys that will redirect you to. It'll really help that channel grow and get monetization. I'll do one, I think, probably tomorrow of Sackboy on PC. And then we might try to do one over the weekend of the Resident Evil DLC if I can get some time to get in there and record some footage. So, invest in some earphones and blast the volume in the dark. They'll scare you, for sure. I understand what you're getting at with the necromorph design. It does look plastic. Yeah, and here's the thing. I don't think people quite understand what I'm doing with those shorts. Like, I'm a live streamer, so I take one little quick moment from a stream to just highlight something that I said, something that I think will get reactions and interactions, because, you know, I'm a content creator. And I just don't think people understand that I was breaking down a trailer for a video game I was really looking forward to, because before the Dead Space remake trailer aired, I was like defending it. I had people saying, I think, this is what people were telling me. I had people coming to my stream saying, Dead Space remake's going to get blown out of the water by Callisto Protocol. Callisto looks more promising. Callisto looks more next gen. And I was like, I don't agree. I think from what I've seen of the screenshots that the Dead Space remake's going to be phenomenal. And then I watched the trailer. Right? I watched the trailer. I watched the gameplay. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of low-res textures. There's a lot of clunky animations. Right? So people see that highlight and they think I'm just some drive-by mean hater. And it's like, bro, I do multiple talk shows a day, Monday through Friday. I was really looking forward to this game. Jiminy Christmas. Like, people are... Funny enough, they accuse me of like malding and being butthurt, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, you're the one doing that. You're coming to my short and losing your dadgum mind. Every slasher necromorph in the original looked to be made of flesh. Each creature looked like they used to be human at some point. Right. He has some... Invest in some earphones. Yeah. I think he was just saying it generically, Smashville. He was just telling people. Somebody said that you get desensitized to the fear, Smashville. And I think Jonathan was saying to keep yourself from being desensitized to the fear, get some good headphones and turn the volume up. That'll keep you on the edge of your seat. I think he was pushing back against that. After seeing the Callisto footage, Dead Space looks too sterile. The lighting is too much. The reflections, the environments, it all looks fake. Yeah, even these doors, like just these animations with the doors, it just looks real. It's very well done. You can tell there's a lot of handcrafted love and passion poured in to this game. You really can sense it. Yes, thanks, man. Okay. I was tracking with the flow of chat, so I knew what you were saying. Yeah. I knew you weren't talking to me. I was like, yeah, I definitely agree, and I have very nice headphones. I tell people all the time if they're going to play Hellblade, like, you must play it with good headphones. If you guys are enjoying the broadcast, man, let us know what you think of the Callisto Protocol gameplay. There were a handful of Callisto Protocol hands-on previews that dropped, and we've been combing over their thoughts and what they've been thinking and saying and entertaining, the idea. Obviously, Callisto Protocol versus Dead Space is going to be a lot of comparisons. According to the previews, there's a lot of differences. And Games Radar was the one that said they really felt like it looked better and was better than they expected. They were not expecting it to be as good as it was. The slashers in the remake look like toys you could buy at Walmart. You know what's funny, Tyler, is I really feel like the people on my short, it's like they know I'm right, and that's why they're angry. Do you know what I'm saying? They're like, I could freeze frame any game and make it look bad. I'm like, what are you talking about? This is a high-res, perfectly crisp, perfectly clear freeze frame. It's not making the game look bad. It's a great shot. It's a really good shot of the game. You can see so much of the detail. It's like, and then I either get told it looks amazing, it looks realistic, or I get told the game's not finished yet. Of course it looks bad. You're looking at an unpolished game. I'm like, okay, so which is it? Did they walk out into the public and release a gameplay trailer of an unfinished product? Is that your defense? Or do they walk out and release a $70 next-gen remake that looks phenomenal? Which is it? You could say the same for a lot of the Gotham Knights defenders. Yeah, it's like they know I'm right, and that's why they're so angry. Like, I'll give you an example. When I reacted to the IGN review to Modern Warfare 2's campaign, it didn't make me angry because I just knew how weak their argument was. I knew their review was trash. I wasn't threatened by it. There was no substance. There was nothing substantiated in their claims. They made all these broad claims and didn't substantiate them in the review. So it didn't trigger me or make me angry. I was like, what the frick is this trash? This is clickbait, right? You're just click farming. I wasn't upset, but the people with Gotham Knights, they get on my videos and it's like they're angry. It's like they're upset. It's like, bro, why are you so upset? If this game was so good, what I'm saying shouldn't be ruffling your feathers at all. You should be laughing at me. I mean, I laughed at parts of the Modern Warfare review. What are you even saying here? What is this? Did you even play the game? It doesn't seem like you played the game. But with Gotham Knights, it's like I've insulted them at some deep level. It's like, Jiminy Christmas, bro. We were all looking forward to the game. And it is disappointing. I'm right there with you. That's what's funny. It's like we all felt the same disappointment. You're just processing it differently than me. If you define yourself by consumption, any criticism becomes personal. It's misplaced emotion. Yeah, it's like we're all disappointed, bro. We're on the same team, and you're punching me in the back of the head. It's like we're all on the same team. We wanted an amazing Batman game, or at least a game in the Gotham area. I didn't have to be Batman. I was perfectly happy to play as the other characters. I was kind of excited to not play as Batman and to have new movesets, right? I've played plenty of Batman. We're all on the same team. We wanted this game to be amazing, and you're disappointed, and I'm disappointed. And you're punching me in the back of the head because I'm the one actually walking out front and saying it looks like trash and plays like a mobile game. And you want to attack me. Stick knives in my back. Ridiculous. Super close to 500 likes, guys. We just need 30 more. If you've just rolled in for the day, we've been talking about Callisto Protocol gameplay, how it's going to stack up to the Dead Space remake. The reason I'm talking about Gotham Knights, I've gotten a lot of hate for my criticism of the Dead Space remake as well as Gotham Knights. And obviously, the Dead Space remake is going to be directly compared to this game. This game comes out first, and I think this game looks truly next-gen. The graphical fidelity, the animations, the movement, the environments, I think all look far superior. That's not a slam. I think Dead Space Remake is a wonderful treatment of the original product, at least so far from what we've seen, but I don't think it looks next-gen. I'm 5 hours into Gotham Knights and it's good. I don't get all the disappointment. Listen, Ahmed, I'm not going to try to convince you that it's bad if you're having a good time. I played it for 2 hours and could barely stomach it. There was this The game is laced with what feels like input delay, even on the menus. It feels like a bad mobile port that they made pretty with lighting. It doesn't play well. The camera's bad, the controls are bad, the combat's bad. There was nothing about it that I enjoyed. I just didn't enjoy it. Even if you're like, I don't care about the graphics and the 30 frames per second, the game plays, it just plays like trash. There's no flow. There's no synergy. Even some of their logistical decisions don't make sense. Hey, I got a bunch of cool stuff to craft something, and then you craft it, and then I have to go back to the base to equip it? Why? That's like a mobile game. What do you mean I have to go back to the base? Why every time do I go through a room do you have to have a loading screen? I go into a room and fight, I go to the next room, and you have to, like, hide the loading screen, like a mobile game. Well, God of War's gonna do that, and Callisto's gonna do that. Not to the same degree, and those games are also not open-world games. I've never played an open-world game with that many hidden loading screens. It was unbelievable. It felt like a compartmentalized, set-piece built mobile game that they ported to PC. That's what it feels like. So you're not wrong for enjoying it. I am not going to try to convince you that it's bad and that you shouldn't enjoy it. I'm just telling you why I thought it was horrible. I'm excited for the Witcher 1 remake. That's our second show today. So stick around for that. Another remake? We're going to have a remake debate, which is very much related to this stream here. Callisto Protocol gameplay is in the hemisphere of the Dead Space remake, and the remake discussion continues to go. I have no issues with Gotham Knights. I enjoyed it. More power to you. I'm never going to try to convince you that you're wrong for enjoying it. I'm not. I substantiate my criticisms and disappointment with as much information from the game as I possibly can. I didn't just say, looks bad, throw it in the dumpster. I pinpoint specific things that they did with gameplay and flow and menus and movement and traversal of the city. And I'm like, all of this feels like a mobile game got ported to PC and they juiced up the lighting to make it look good. And it makes the game run like garbage. Agreed, but I need to finish it. To be honest, it's a waste of money. Why is it a waste of money? Abe says, I don't want any more remakes. Abe, I need you to bottle that up and hold it for the next stream. I want to know why, but don't start now. You're going to cannibalize my second show. My rating is 3 out of 10. Jiminy Christmas. I don't understand. So you're having fun, but you agree with my rating, because I gave it a very low score. I said this game's like a 2. I can't even recommend it for free. If you guys are just tuning in for the Callisto Protocol gameplay hands-on previews breakdown, we've been watching this B-roll this morning that all of the Callisto Protocol hands-on previews used this B-roll. And the general consensus is that it's very good, and it's not Dead Space. It's more punishing, more brutal than Dead Space. There's a lot more reliance on melee and sort of a fisticuffs, dodging, blocking style combat that you sort of interlay with your guns. So we would love to hear from you if you just got here. Make sure and hit subscribe. Let us know what you think of this game. We've been obviously saying that we feel like I think it's going to hurt the Dead Space remake, because I feel like the graphical fidelity and the true next-gen feel of this game will make the Dead Space remake feel inferior. I heard so many people say, I love Gotham Knights as a solid 4 out of 10. Huh? Is it just me, or does it look like there's too much motion blur? I 100% agree with you, Brady. I think this game is beautiful, but there's way too much motion blur. I can't even get good freeze frames. Like, there's motion blur on the player. He'll be standing still doing stuff, and I'll try to get a freeze frame, and there's motion blur on the character. It's obnoxious. I'm going to turn that off as fast as I possibly can. I really hope they let you turn off the motion blur, because it's not just in the movement of the camera and the environments. It's literally the player's movement and animations has like motion blur on top of it. It's gross. Will you be playing COD at midnight tonight or later tomorrow? I will be doing 2 streams tomorrow. We'll be doing 1 Spec Ops stream and 1 multiplayer stream, and then tomorrow night is community game night. We'll be playing Call of Duty together. We'll probably start with Invasion just for fun, and then we'll head over to Spec Ops so that I don't end the night salty. Hilly will be co-hosting with me and playing alongside of me. It should be fun. Exactly, the game looks so good when you stop moving in the cutscene, but the motion blur removes all the detail. Yeah. What does motion blur hide? Listen, there's a variety of views on motion blur. People like to use motion blur because they feel like it makes it look more cinematic and more glossed over, smoothed over. I hate it. I think it's awful. It looks like somebody wiped Vaseline on the screen. Wonder how much of it's been compressed. It's Brawl. So emailed or Dropbox, then edited and talked over, then uploaded to YouTube. So it's B-roll. Yeah, we got to remember that is true. We're looking at B-roll that they downloaded and then they put into their own video that they rendered and then uploaded to YouTube. So this thing has been kind of through the ringer, and that's one of the reasons why it might not have a very crisp feel to it, right? I do think sometimes that plays a part, you know. Amaranth's cleaning house at Only Man's agency as she plans a fresh start. I hope she gets completely out of that. I don't know what she's gonna do with Playboy, but I would love for her to get out of that industry. She's too smart to need to do all that, but it generates so much money. I'm currently playing through the OG Dead Space. This game looks sick. Yeah, I agree. Motion blur is pretty for preview videos. Terrible for gameplay if you ask me. Most games now allow you to turn off motion blur, so I'm assuming that's the case here. Baba Yaga, I think that's a safe assumption because they are going to give you a performance mode as well. You can run this game at 60 FPS. They did say that they built it and paced it around 30, but that's not abnormal for a game that was built for cross-generation support. So I don't think it's going to hurt it. It didn't hurt God of War 2018 or Spider-Man or Ghost of Tsushima. They got 60 FPS updates and they look and run fine. So, and those were games built for 30 FPS. We're right at 500 likes, guys. Thanks so much for all the likes on the video. Don't forget, we do 2 shows a day. So everybody's been super faithful today to like this video and give us a great like milestone. But I need you to do that as well when we go to our second stream in a little bit here. We really need help with that. Sometimes the second stream literally gets punished because I take so many of you over and we have so many lurkers that we lack likes on the second stream. So help me get to 500 right now, and then be sure to hang tight for our next show. I'm getting so many emails today. Oh, cancellation notice on domains. We don't need that one anymore. We don't need that one. Puzzle Bubble Every Bubble is coming into the spring. A Bubble Bobble puzzle game. Oh man, the original Bubble Bobble was so hard. Why is it that I can remember the exact melodies of some of those old games? Like immediately I'm there. You know, Zelda Dungeons, and that low boo 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 underneath. I can just immediately remember all those melodies from those games. It's like an infection, you know? You can just tap into it anytime. And then it's just stuck in your head for the rest of the day. It's only an issue if you tie your game to 30 FPS like Bloodborne or like Horizon Zero Dawn. Horizon Zero Dawn was fine once they decoupled animations and stuff from the frame rates. Yeah. Even clothing animations were wonky. Clothing animations were super wonky when you got on PC. Like, what the heck is going on? Motion blur is just like the soap opera effect. It's so annoying. Love how agile the MC is in this game. Well, IGN said, she said it didn't feel like she was moving a video game character. She said it felt like she was moving a real person. There was a lot of weight to the character, and I felt like that was encouraging. I was a little worried because I do think sometimes scary games, they like to make you move like a senior citizen, and that's how they create intensity and fear. It's like, bro, move! You know, you're like yelling at the character to move a little bit faster. So I hope they don't do that too much, you know? I hope I don't feel like a geriatric, because I don't... I was playing through, it was the newest, what was it, Back 4 Blood? That game was kind of a flash in the pan, wasn't it? The newest Left 4 Dead. And I remember saying that about it. I was like, this doesn't feel scary. It feels like you've injected my veins with cement and I can't go anywhere quickly. And that's where the intensity, the fear, the challenge, the danger, and the pain, it all came from that. And I was like, yeah, I tapped out pretty quick from that game for that reason. I tapped right out. I was like, yeah, no, I don't want to play this. You know, I ended up dying, and that's literally what it felt like I died to. I died to the fact that my character moved like an old person, you know? You had me crying laughing when you played part 2 of COD, when you were yelling at Price as if he wasn't doing anything. All they do is watch the whole time. Yeah, I definitely got on Price. I definitely got on him. Like, bro, can you even flank? You know? Hey, Lord Bacon the Destroyer, helping us get back to 2,000 members. We dropped below 2,000 members, guys. We're in like the 1,600s. Plier 2.0, Ready, Set, Dead, Tremolo, Foggy, and Claudeau. You guys all got gifted a member. I ain't got much, but I piff all the time. My man, thank you so much. If you pay it forward, that's right. Hey, if you guys just got a gifted membership and you can pay it forward, gift some more members yourself and let some other people get blessed. A lot of people can't afford a membership right now, and we have very generous people. If you can afford to pay it forward, or even if you can afford to do your own membership, that frees up space in the pool of viewers to make room for people to get gifted memberships. Yo, good morning, Wheezy. So many survival horror games coming, it's crazy. My first console was the Atari 2600, my 6th birthday gift. Just brings back some emotions. Rip Grandpa. Yeah, my first console was an Atari. My dad still has it. We'd have to get some kind of a thing to hook it up to TVs these days, like a converter, you know, because it was like an old coax thing, you know. Been busy, but I had time now. What I miss? What up? We've been breaking down the Callisto Protocol gameplay hands-on previews and kind of looking through the commentary from IGN, VentureBeat, Engadget, Eurogamer, and Games Radar. The general consensus is that this is not Dead Space, clearly inspired by it, but you cannot play this like Dead Space. It plays more like horror survival, much bigger focus on melee, more of a fisticuff style combat with blocks and dodges, and very heavy, crunchy, clunky melee style combat. Apparently moving the character has a lot of weight to it, and it feels like you're moving a real character, a real person. There is a very quick snap aim thing that happens sometimes in the trailers where you earn this like critical shot on the enemy. I'm not super fond of it, but I'm sure when I'm playing it won't be that bothersome. Not only are guns not your first choice of combat, but you will notice too, at times in the footage, guns aren't even that effective. They're not even that effective. They tend to take a long time to kill an enemy. This is going to take about 1.5 clips to take that guy down in total. Been a lot of horror game announcements. Feels good. Yeah, there's a lot of space games coming out and a lot of horror games coming out. That seems to be a trend that has kind of emerged, you know, on the scene. If you guys are just tuning in, thanks so much for being here. We're taking a look at, this is B-roll. All of the Callisto Protocol hands-on previews use this B-roll. I've seen a gameplay of him with a shotgun. It looks brutal. Yeah. There's good gameplay out there. I'm using the B-roll because there's a lot of guys out there that have put together, you know, super cuts, and I don't know where some of the footage has come from, so I'm trying to be careful. It looks like you're also really rewarded for well-timed heavy hits, because this guy kind of charges and he does a wind-up kind of uppercut. You know, yo, what's good, Weed Man? It has been a minute, man. How are you? Maybe guns will become more viable as the game goes on. It is one of those things that I talked about, Kunal. I do think that sometimes early game scarcity is not indicative of end game power. You can end up really strong in the end game, have a couple of guns, plenty of ammo, all sorts of different strength, you know, expressions of strength that you've amassed throughout the game. But I also think that early game scarcity could be teaching you how to play well. You need to play like a survival game. Like when you play through like a Resident Evil game, you are not using your gun that often. You know that would be a mistake. You're not just gonna pop everybody you see, and then all of a sudden you're like, I don't have anything. I don't have any bullets. This game seems to be trying to teach you that through scarcity in the early game, which I think is totally fine. To have the game educate you through experience, it doesn't necessarily need to tell you, choose your shots wisely, ammo will become scarce, like handhold. That right there was an example of the snap to aim thing. So he gets a critical chance there, but he doesn't take it. But once he knocks him on the floor and he aims, the critical appears and it kind of immediately snap aims onto it. It's a little jarring. I'm sure it's probably great when you're playing because you're going to want that speed. You're going to want to be able to quickly take advantage of something like that you've earned. You can waste ammo on easy modes for Resident Evil, but harder modes, they drop less or craft less. It seems more like survival horror game than an action horror game like Dead Space 2. Well, I've had people coming in and saying, Dead Space 3 is like really action oriented. And funny enough, that was my first experience with Dead Space. My buddy and I played through it, and we had a blast with it, But again, we were very, very pleased to play a co-op game together. That was kind of our draw to it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, snap aim. Yeah. Yep. That's exactly right. I've already seen some new vids and shorts. It's like, back at it again. Like aim snapping up to the ceiling for no reason. Really suspicious. Tired of all the remakes? Give me something fresh and new. That is our second show of the day. So if you are tired of remakes or you're against remakes, I need you to bottle up your irritation and your rants and your soapboxes about it, and I need you to bring that to the second show. All right? We don't want to cannibalize second show right now. This show is about Callisto Protocol gameplay. Dead Space 3 is fine. It just wasn't what people wanted out of Dead Space back then. Well, and I think they got extra criticism because weren't there like microtransactions in the game that really irritated people? Kind of rubbed people the wrong way. It didn't really feel like a game that should have micros in it. You know what I mean? What time is the second show? In about 15 minutes, Wheezy. We are going to go a little bit earlier today than we've been going. We're going to try and start getting to the second show at noon. I've been enjoying going to members a little bit earlier because then I can end my day a little bit earlier and plan. We've been doing a lot of more content. I've got my third video now recorded for the Lego channel, and then I've been recording. We're gonna try raw gameplay of big games on the First Look channel. We're gonna do like every mission from COD. I'm gonna try the same thing with with God of War when it comes out. I've got a rig set up in my living room so I can play on my big TV and record. So I'll be able to enjoy games like Modern Warfare 2 and God of War on my big screen and record it. And then we'll just upload that raw gameplay to the First Look channel. We've never really done anything like that, so having extra time in the afternoons has been extremely helpful. Dead Space 3 includes microtransactions for buying better weapons. Yeah. That was another reason that fans of Dead Space really, really hated on Dead Space 3. Your reaction to the IGN Modern Warfare 2 review was really good. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. That video did very well. It kind of took off overnight. I don't know if it's still cooking. Let's see. No, it slowed down. But it's still doing well. It kind of cooked overnight. I was like, oh, hey. I was like, there we go. There's some viewership. We had a good Discord update, do well on our Reforge Updates channel. Now we just need to get the Reforge First Look channel monetized. We'll be able to do that once we can take some of you guys over there and do some redirect premieres and get you all subbed over there. We need 1,000 subs on that channel. From what I've seen, Dead Space was also built for co-op and then single player because the second player's character is just popping into existence in the cutscenes. Right. Yeah, UE5 Gears is going to be phenomenal. We'll end up probably talking a little bit about Unreal 5 in the next show. Yeah, our second show, we're going to touch on that for sure. People are playing MW2 early by changing their region. Yeah, I don't do that. We'll play tomorrow. If anybody's around in the morning, I'll need somebody to play Spec Ops with, and then we'll do some multiplayer in the afternoon. And then tomorrow night we'll do a community game night with Call of Duty. So make sure your membership is active. If you've never done a membership on a YouTube channel before, I would love to see new people doing it without gifteds. And again, if you've got ideas of what would make you push the button, let us know. You can always push it and see if you get a discount. Sometimes you get a first membership discount. And we do lots of members-only content. Every day we sort of end the day with members. We're going to start maybe calling it like the members debrief. You get to kind of debrief with me about the day. It's kind of a behind-the-scenes look at what we do. That's members only at the end of every day, Monday through Friday. Yo, what's good? Enjoying today's lineup. COD ain't my thing, but I've been checking in lately. Just haven't had much to say because of all the COD content. Happy the COD fans finally have a solid-looking COD. Hey, look, man. Modern Warfare 2 might end up being on this channel quite a bit if we can, with the daily challenges and all the grind we're going to need to do in Spec Ops. I got news for you, man. Next week, the afternoons are probably going to be a whole lot of Modern Warfare. You're still going to get your talk show every day, but the afternoons are probably going to shift to Spec Ops grind. Time to start looking at COD differently. Yeah, I'm already looking at COD differently as a content creator, and since we don't really focus on PvP, it looks like we're really going to be able to carve a good niche there. And if you guys support it, I'll be very grateful for that. I will be very grateful if you guys support those efforts, because that'll be exciting to have a very well-balanced channel. Daily talk shows, great discussions, and then gameplay, grinding, getting invested in a game again. Like, I really hope that we can do that, and it'll only happen by your support. Yeah, COD raids, the daily Spec Ops challenges for stars to get the kits grinded up and leveled up. We're going to need to do that for the raids, and I'm committed. We're going to be doing that, and I hope it turns into a good content flow for you guys. I hope you guys dig it and support it, because I'm very much looking forward to it. I did not set out for this to happen with that game, but it feels like we might be able to carve a very special home with it, and it will not overtake the channel, and it will not overtake the talk shows, but it has the potential to have some good presence here. Same with, games like Diablo and stuff. So if you guys are just tuning in, we are covering the Callisto Protocol gameplay hands-on previews. Make sure and hit subscribe, hit the like button, do all the things. I am going to quickly run upstairs and come right back down, and we're going to shift gears to talking about, there's another remake of a big franchise that got announced, and we're going to talk about it. Why more remakes? So don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. Back chat. Hoodie on. It's a chilly day. The kids are in robes. My son's up there feeling better and learning. He's working on learning how to read. He's getting good at it. My wife has this book. It's like 100 and something lessons of, learning to read with no tears. And man, my daughter is a reading machine now. She just reads all of the time. And now my son's going through the same book, and he's doing great. Lono getting lunch? No, I'm not getting lunch. Not yet. Just talking to the boy, seeing how he was doing. You see Iron Man? Nah, this is not Iron Man. It's a spaceman. New sponsor. Make sure you guys are using the shirt command. You can go to intotheam.com/Lono, or you can just go to their website and use code Lono. It'll get you a 10% discount. It will give me credit. We announced that yesterday. We are still working with 80s Tees, so we're not losing a sponsor. They did not need exclusivity, which I thought was awesome and very cool of them. 80s Tees has been good to us. Now, a ton of you guys have been awesome today and smashed the like button. And it's been great. It really helped out this video. I'm going to need you to do it again in a moment because we're going to be switching to a new video. And these new videos sometimes struggle on the like count because we do this thing called redirect. And a lot of people get redirected and they don't realize that we have switched videos. Okay? Just make sure when I take you over to this new video that you hit the like button again. I'm getting everything set up for it right now and sending my tweets and stuff. Witcher remake. Another remake. I thought the thumbnail turned out really nice. Boop boo 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 boo. I joined the Discord server, but I'm still not allowed to post anything. Did you connect everything up? You did? All right, hang on a second. Sometimes the server needs its integration pushed. Discord did something where like these servers don't update like they used to. I just synced and see if you got any new roles. No, Dr. Doom, you're not synced up. I can see you. You need to sync your Discord app with your YouTube app. Like you go into Discord and go to your user settings and you got to sync it, right? Okay. Okay. Announcement. There we go. Now, if redirects traditionally don't work for you, then if redirects traditionally don't work for you, then please be sure. I'm not going to do this. Let's do this. Please be sure to click the link in chat. I'm going to put a link in chat in just a moment. Put a link in chat in just a moment. And you can click on that instead of yeah, I'm just going to roll with that. There's not really any good trailers of The Witcher 1. All right. So please click the link in chat to go to the next stream. If redirects traditionally don't work that well for you, That way you don't have to ride the redirect. Also, do me a favor. As we go into this new video and I start doing my update and talking about this Witcher remake, please smash the like button. I need another like from you. This is a brand new video, brand new stream. So a lot of you are lurking and doing the radio show thing. I need those likes as soon as we get over there, okay? Kunal with the brand new membership. Thank you so much for doing that. I would love to see more people do that. Enjoy the dope badge and emotes. It's $5 a month. You pay $5, and for the whole month, you get into all my extra content for members and my Discord that's members only, all right? We're going to start the next one. Click the link in chat or just ride redirect. And again, go nuts on that like button when you get over there. Thanks so much for clicking on this video. We're going to be discussing the Witcher remake, sort of having the discussion of another remake. What is going on with this trend? Is this a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I'm going to give you all the information right here at the beginning of the stream about the Witcher remake. We do longer videos because it's a live streaming channel, but I don't make you go look for everything. I put everything at the beginning. Now, we already did a stream today about the Callisto Protocol previews that were coming out. I'm going to end that stream and bring everybody over with me. So we do multiple shows a day and we redirect to this second stream. So make sure you've subscribed to the channel. Make sure that you've hit the like button so you don't miss the content and all those things, and consider becoming a member. All of the sponsors are listed below, including the shirt that I'm wearing. And there we go. I'm going to bring everybody over. I'm going to end that.